Radio 92.3 The Fan, WKRK-FM, and HD1 Cleveland Heights. An Odyssey Sports Station.
92.3 The Fan, 2020 Sports.
Guardians finally broke their 6-game losing streak last night, winning 3-0 against the Tampa Bay Rays. All those runs coming in the first inning, and then rookie Parker Messick took over. Messick on getting that first big league win in just his second outing.
It's awesome. I mean, I've been waiting on it. Wanted to get the first one, couldn't get it, unfortunately, but the goal is every time to go out here and try and get a win, so I'm happy I got to experience that first one.
That audio courtesy of Guardians TV. The Southpaw finished with 7 scoreless, 6 strikeouts, and just 4 base runners. Cleveland improves to 65 and 66. They didn't get any help from their American League counterparts, though, so the team is still 5 games out of a wild card spot. Browns released their initial 53-man roster yesterday. The team terminated the contracts of Deontay Johnson and kicker Dustin Hopkins. Camp stars Caden Davis and Amani Marshall also got waived. Browns also cutting ties with Pierre Strong after 2 years with the team. Kevin Stefanski saying yesterday, though, that they're looking to add another running back into the room. Right now, it's just Dylan Sampson and Jerome Ford. The final roster did include Andre Schmidt and undrafted rookie Gage Larvidan. Browns also placing Deshaun Watson on the physically unable to perform list. The earliest he could be activated is week 5. You can now find 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and get the best content from our shows each and every weekday. That's 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Headline sports news every 20 minutes on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Anthony Allant.
Make the afternoon drive your soundtrack on the way into the Guardians games. And talk about the game on your way home on overtime. The best Guardians coverage is right here on Cleveland's Sports Radio, 92.3 The Fan. The Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima.
Foul ball. Off the glove of Diaz. It rolls into shallow right field and around third. Scoring the first run of the game is Stephen Kwan. The drought is over. Hit high in the air, deep right center field. Herrera and Lowe are back, and now Lowe will make the catch. Tagging up and coming home is Kafis. On his way to third is Manzardo, and it's 2-0 Cleveland as Bo Naylor picks up RBI number 30 on the sacrifice fly. Broke his bat. Base hit. Manzo scores. Fry goes to third, and the Guardians lead us 3-0. And a swing and a miss. Book it. The drought is over, and so is the skid. The Guardians score 3 in the first, and the pitching makes it stand up as they win by a final score of 3-0.
This is Cleveland's Sports Radio, 92.3 The Fan.
Audio courtesy of Guardians TV, and I'm trying not to get too excited about it because the season's over. Season's over.
But are you hearing the update? The Guardians got no help from their American League counterparts.
But this is what I'm trying not to get excited about. Parker Messick was great. 7 innings, struck out 6, scoreless. He's off to a great start. I mean, his last outing, again, they should have won that game.
Yeah, got ruined.
The Mountie ended up blowing the save, and he ended up having a problem. But I'm concerned about the rotation, and because I think we're so concerned about the rotation, we tend to be overzealous. We've become accustomed to things here in Cleveland. I think anywhere you become accustomed to certain things in life. In Cleveland, I think you've become accustomed to the Browns falling short, to say the least. I think you've become accustomed to the Cavs pulling out all the stops to go for anything, to try to win, to go for broke, holding the Cavaliers to an exceedingly high standard. I think that you've grown accustomed to the Guardians finding good pitching and consistently churning out Cy Young quality pitching. I mean, that's a strong thing to say, but if you look over the last 20 years, it's a who's who of pitchers with the Cleveland Guardians. And I think this year what's made me so concerned for the future is that really, put Parker Messick aside just for a second. Right now, I feel you have, and Owen, maybe I want you to jump in on this as well. It feels to me like right now you have a bunch of third starters. Tanner Bybee, I don't know. We know what happened the other day. It was documented. We talked about it 3 different times yesterday of the argument that he and Stephen Vogt had. I don't buy at all what Stephen Vogt said about trying to get people fired up. You were just trying to get people fired up. You're not yelling at him and cussing at him in the dugout. Gavin Williams has been all over the place. He's been great. He's been almost no-hitter, and then there's times where he just gets blown up. Slade Ciccone has not had a good August, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, did he regress to the mean? Is it some little more of a book on him?
Yeah, Logan Allen is Logan Allen, and so you have a bunch of third and fourth starter guys. And my advice is, or my hope is that you reset yourself during the offseason, understand that this is kind of the rotation of what it is, and hopefully guys are able to clear the mechanism and go forward. That said, who the hell knows what's going to happen with Tanner Bybee during the offseason if there's more to it than what we just saw in the dugout. And so because I'm so concerned about the other four, I think a lot of us look at Parker Messick and go, okay, that's the Guardians we know. That's the Guardians pitching staff we know. It's like, well, it's only been a couple of outings. But what a great couple of outings it's been for Parker Messick. It's been very nice. So I do it with a grain of salt.
Well,
I want to give him his credit because this is a great outing.
It always has to come from within with the Guardians because they're never going to go out and sign an ace or trade for an ace, right? Like the only thing they'll do is they'll try to redeem somebody, or like when they bring in, Matt Boyd or Alex Cobb, but like they're not a team that's going to be able to ever go get. They have to develop an ace.
Yes,
that is the only chance they've got.
Well, they can kind of redevelop guys for other people. Like Matt Boyd, when he got traded to the Cubs, was like, yeah, Guardians helped me out tremendously. Like they helped me out significantly. And it was like, well, where's this?
Oh, we're not going to even pay $15 million for somebody, $15 a year for somebody at his level.
So I want it I don't want to be like a wet blanket on a guy who's just a young kid. And I saw like when they were in Arizona last week, I saw the interviews with his parents. That was a really nice thing. I started to realize that I am getting a little older as they started to look closer to my age. So that's something that you have to take in, because usually it's like, you see their parents and they kind of still look like your parents, and now it's like, that mom and dad is probably the same type of mom and dad I would see at a youth football game on a Saturday. Like that's still, we're getting there now. But it's a great outing, and I just don't like. Oh, and I don't want to be a wet blanket for it. Like, I want to calm myself down, but I don't want to have to calm everybody else down.
Well, also, most potential aces, aren't they able to hit the gun at 98, 99? Like, don't we think about that? I know it always hasn't been that case for us either, but when you're projecting guys that are going to be the rock-solid starters in your rotation.
The only other thing you look at is pitch count and how deep they go into games. That's for the ace thing, and that's why Bybee has been the closest thing, because he's the one guy that'll go 110 pitches and not seem to be affected, although he's not been great, so I can't say he's not been affected by all of that. But, yeah, if you look at what the Guardians traditionally have done, right now you got to feel like, well, Messick's the next chance you have at it, because it's not going to be Bybee. It isn't. Where they've been screwed in the whole development process is they've always developed the next guy. Well, that next guy was supposed to be Tristan McKenzie.
Yeah.
And Tristan McKenzie not being that next guy has really thrown everything.
Yeah.
You've got to retool it all and try again with a new guy. And now you have to speed up the process that you had.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I think I've done that with some of the other guys. I think we've all done that to some degree with the other guys. Like Tanner Bybee's probably not supposed to be. He's an opening day starter for you because of who you are.
Right.
But he's probably not supposed to be an opening day starter on a contending baseball team. So you go from last year to this year. You're right. It's Tristan McKenzie, and then it kind of rolls downhill. And now that I've put probably too high of expectations on Gavin Williams, Tanner Bybee, Slade Ciccone not as much. But then all of a sudden, like in July, it started going. Now August, we're kind of like, okay, that's a third starter, fourth starter somewhere in there. And I now have taken my hopes and thrown them on to Parker Messick in 2 outings, which have been fantastic outings. But, I mean, he can go out there and get blown up and we can never hear of him again, so I want to give him the credit due where he did. Like, these are good outings for him. He should be 2-0. This should be a great start for him, and it is a great start for him. I mean, last night was fantastic. 7 innings, and, again, I think he struck out 6, so it's a great start for a young man who I think it's open right now. And my biggest concern, I didn't think they were going to make the postseason last month. I don't want to say the season's over because it was way too early. Now I'm thinking, yeah, the season's over, especially, and we're going to get to the Carlos Santana thing here in just a second. But I wanted to go, all right, if I have a starting rotation, then I'm better for the long term. But now I don't know what my starting rotation is. So now I'm getting worked up over what their future is, because you have Jose at 33, going on 33. You have your starting rotation that's kind of up in the air. And then after Jose, like, what am I going to do? Like, you and I had a brief conversation yesterday about Stephen Kwan. I think there's a lot of people who were down to sign Stephen Kwan who are going, this is 3 years in a row where it's been a second half slide for Stephen. Are we sure we want the Guardians to invest that type of money in him? And my answer is, who replaces Stephen Kwan? So now I'm left with more questions than answers.
What's the money even at?
Yeah,
it's probably nowhere near the type of contract he had originally been looking for when numbers were thrown around.
Yeah, maybe it's just more affordable now.
Yeah,
you guys were stuck on $30 million, and I never thought that was a thing. I thought 22 was the cap for the Guardians, and I don't even know if 22 is it right now.
Okay, that's my next question. Do you think that 22 was it? And you say no. So
I mean, right now, for a guy, he's giving you one thing consistently, and it's that he's going to start the season hot as hell. And by the time you get to August, he's going to be back to the pack.
Yeah, can't guarantee anything after that.
So Carlos Santana, they're going to put him on waivers. That was reported by The Athletic. Apparently, they didn't ask him that question vote yesterday. We have nothing in here. Do we know if Vote said anything about this? I mean, they could at least... So got nothing on Carlos Santana? Really? Okay. That's odd. I mean, if there's always a rumor of a team doing something and it hasn't happened yet, you still go, Kevin, and he's like, we're not going to speak about that until we're ready to speak about that. That's what it is. Maybe that's what it is, and somebody didn't cut it up. I'm not sure, but I don't see anything there. Carlos Santana, his third stint with the Guardians is done. Where do you put Carlos Santana?
I was wondering just how many Guardians, 11 years? Was it 11 seasons that he played with the Guardians? That's got to be up there, right? Like, how many guys have we had that have had more seasons?
Bob Feller?
I'm just talking modern day.
Jose's there right now.
Jose's there.
Yeah.
And then who?
Did Tommy end up getting there by the time he came back
After
again?
he came back?
I
don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, Carlos Santana, longtime Gardo. Did anybody celebrate that he got waived?
Celebrate?
I don't think anybody celebrated. Like, people are going, don't celebrate. I don't think I'm seeing anybody celebrating Carlos Santana getting waived.
Oh, no. I saw it was the people that Aiden didn't want this to begin with, thought it was wasting time, blocking other guys. And certainly that conversation got louder the minute they had started the 10-game losing streak. The minute they were mired in that, it was like, what's the point of Carlos Santana at this point?
Okay,
so I think those are the people who were getting arguments about that daily. But we've had those people reach out to us.
To celebrate, though.
I think they're just celebrating being right. Like, they were like, what this whole thing was a waste of time.
When we were in the 10-game losing streak, I was ready for them to find a different home for him so that we could see Kafis. They brought Kafis up and they put him in the outfield. Yeah. Last night, Kafis was on first base, where he should be, right? Yeah, that's where he's been playing.
Yes, of course.
But by this time, it's what have you done for me for the last losing streak?
Well, yeah.
So you've waited too long to make this move.
I still don't think it was anything. Even if they would have made that move at the trade deadline, It's nothing to celebrate.
And I wouldn't have celebrated that either.
Yeah, like if they would have traded away, like, who's a guy that everybody was annoyed by with the Guardians here over the last 3 years? Is there anybody like, I hate to say Rocchio, because I think he plays his ass off as hard as he can. He's just not that great.
Even like Ahmed Rosario.
Okay, Ahmed Rosario's the one. There you go. Ahmed Rosario. If you wanted to sit there and celebrate Ahmed Rosario, all right, fine, I guess, because you get out from underneath that stuff. But I don't think that Carlos Santana is anybody to celebrate, because you've had a very long and
this wasn't Josh Bell who you brought in and hoped something happened and then it didn't happen.
But there's a history there. I don't want to sell, even if they would have traded him for something. I don't want to celebrate Carlos Santana being placed on waivers. I just think that's disrespectful to a guy who's given a lot of his life and his career, and he's been paid a hell of a lot of money to do so. Fine, but I mean, there's a lot there, a lot of history there. with Guardians fans. I mean, you remember he came in as one of the premier catching prospects in all of baseball, started off hot as hell, hurt his knee, became a first baseman, became a fine baseball player for you for a long time, was always able to draw a walk, was never really a guy, like he hit some home runs, obviously, but he was never really a guy who I think was feast or famine. I mean, he would go through the beginning of the year slumps. April and May were not really good to him. He would start to get out of it by late May, and then he would take off for the rest of the year, and Carlos would be great. But that's 11 years of Carlos Santana baseball. I don't think it's anything to celebrate. It's just another thing of what this season is. And this season has been, I'm not going to say collapse, because they weren't really in first place to begin with, but it's been a tremendous disappointment coming off of last year.
So he is 12th all-time in games played for the organization. 1,450. That is ahead of Jim Thome.
I want to know since Curt Flood, though, like ever since free agency, where is he at?
By the way, he's 51 games ahead of Thome. Kenny Lofton had 1,276, so he was, over a season ahead of Kenny. Those are, outside of Jose Ramirez. Omar was at 1,478. So he had 28 games more than Carlos Santana. So he had a chance. He had a chance this year to catch Omar.
You're talking about legends there.
Overall.
Yeah, you're talking about legends there. I mean, the legends of the 90s.
Carlos is not. He's not in the Kenny Lofton, Jim Thome, Omar Vizquel. I don't think he touches
that group stands
that level.
The only guys that come close to that level will be a team that wins the World Series. Until they win a World Series, that no one touches the 90s Indians for what they did, for what they meant. The time in the history of the city, the time of the history of one of the teams moving, the Browns moving, the new stadium, everything. Finally getting out from under the thumb of Art Modell, because that's one of the underrated things that we say. Like, we only blame football with Art Modell, but it's like his rent was so considerably high on that. I know we loved it, but he left it in disrepair. His rent was so high that it did not afford the Indians to be able to keep any of their players. And so it kept the Indians in the cellar for a long time. Now, that turned into a diatribe on Art Modell. I don't want to do it. But I think before and after free agency, I think is the big deal. But, yeah, he's in that. I think he's in that second tier. I think he's in that second tier of players that fans really – I think they have a respect for him. I think you'll find a couple of jerseys. The guys who are romanticized are the guys you just mentioned who are in the 90s. But Carlos Santana, certainly, there's a lot of respect for Carlos Santana. I put him in the Victor Martinez category, where there's some fans who love him, and I will always have a immense amount of respect for him, an immense amount. He was a good Guardian for a long time, and we wish him well in his future endeavors. Hopefully he picks up with one of the surging teams in the American International League, and he's able to go out there and ring chase, because we're just going.
you complete control of your listing. Before you consider calling any other realtor, you need to go to theyoungteam.com. Get your instant home value with a couple of clicks in under 60 seconds. Google The Young Team and start packing.
Route 8 North from Graham to 271 shows light traffic volume, as well as 90 East from Crocker to Euclid Avenue. This is Joe Checkeye for 92.3 The Fan.
All day long. All day. All the time. At work.
923thefan.com and the Odyssey app.
Check it out.
This is one thing that kind of annoyed me that this morning where, Deontay Johnson gets cut and it leads the headlines in Cleveland. Shedeur Sanders becomes the third-team quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. I wanted to send this to you guys. It was the second headline on ESPN.com. Number two. Carlos Santana here, 11 years. We didn't get one question. Not one. One of the most legendary Guardians since 2000. Leave the 90s Indians out of it. Not one. Not one. Like, hey, wait, he's going to be waived. Can anybody? Nothing. I hope I'm wrong by the end of the day, but I got Mitch scouring because Mitch is going to freak out. He's going to be like, "Oh, Ken's going to go crazy if I can't find this." Mitch
you would use the term. It's interesting because sometimes we jumble words together, they lose their meaning or whatever. Legend. You think Carlos Santana is considered a legend?
I think there's younger people who love Carlos Santana.
I've never thought of him as a legendary figure.
Okay, but one of the great Guardians of this era. Okay, fine. If we're gonna, I don't want to sit here and mince words, but Deontay Johnson was here for a month, and his fall from grace has been something that's outrageous because we don't see that a lot except with Steelers wide receivers, and he was a Steelers wide receiver. But Deontay Johnson was here for a month, and it's a peppering of Deontay Johnson. Albert Breer was with Afternoon Drive yesterday. Now Albert Breer's a football guy, and he had something to say about the whole Deontay Johnson deal.
Big part of it is whether or not you can trust him. You know what I mean? If you give him a spot on the team and he doesn't have a certain role, is he going to do all the right thing? That's important, A lot of times with guys like him, you can keep them in line if they've got a real role, right? Like if they're a starter, but if the guy like that's not a starter, are you better off keeping him in where maybe you're not sure you can trust him? Or are you better having a younger developmental player in that spot? I think that's sort of what it comes down to when we're talking about those things. It's also, part of it's a function of your special teams value and what was he bringing from a special teams standpoint. Because once you get down, your fourth receiver, your fifth receiver, your sixth receiver, now you're talking about those guys having to contribute to the team in other ways, like outside just the offense.
Again, 40 seconds of Deontay Johnson commentary from Albert Breer. I can't get one thing on Carlos Santana. Not one. That's part of what makes the NFL is that they blow everything out of proportion. Everything is a big deal. Third-team quarterbacks for the Browns. Yes, his name is a big name. Is the second biggest headline on ESPN. I can't get one over there about one of the better Guardians of this era. One of the better Indian/Guardians of this era. It's just, I don't know. The whole Deontay Johnson thing, I agreed with it with Jonathan in the afternoon where he's like, man, I'm hearing a lot of people kind of giving their sympathy to Deontay Johnson. He messed up his own career. If he was a guy who never got off the map because of injuries, it's just, man, this isn't going to work out. This sucks. The Browns have had a couple of guys like that. I could see the sympathy given. This guy had it, and then he walked away from a couple of teams mid-game, mid-season, really asinine stuff. So I don't need to sit there and give him my sympathy.
Yeah, he's a cautionary tale. There's a bunch, especially at that position, wide receivers in the NFL that had a ton of talent. It's why when the Browns picked him up, I saw people immediately, it's always the same people, but the Browns fans on social media, whoa, this is a steal. And I'm like, you guys realize there's a career here that predated this day in which you were reacting to this. It wasn't hard to find, how many situations he's either sabotaged or whatever. And then he came in, and I think he had a good week and a half. And people, I remember, because the conversations were all out there, and people were calling us, this is going to be a big deal for Andrew Berry. And this is going to be a big deal for whoever wins the starting quarterback job. To have a guy like this, it's capable of 70 catches. And I'm like, what were you guys in a coma the last 5 years? Because guys like this can be tantalizing all the time. They just, when they're on their fifth stop, come on.
Yeah.
When does it ever, turns it around?
To me, it was just an indication of how desperate the wide receiver room is.
How bad the quarterback room is.
I thought wide receiver. You talking about Deontay Johnson? I thought it was just an indication how bad the wide receiver room is. Albert Breer did have something to note here. Do I want to play this for everybody, or are they going to get upset?
I've got it in the queue.
I mean, we got to do it. So here's Albert Breer on the rookie QBs and another QB after the Pickett trade. Go ahead.
People have talked to me about this in very vague terms, so please take it that way. I think Watson's going to be cleared in October and November. I think it's going to be at some point in that, general time range. So you're talking about, middle of the season somewhere. He's going to be available, and then, you're probably going to come to a point where you got to put him on your 53-man roster. That means walking away from a player. Is that player one of the quarterbacks? We'll see. Trading Pickett now sort of gets you ahead of that problem a little bit, where there's just no way you're going to carry 5 quarterbacks on your roster. So now your whole, 4 quarterback conundrum is solved for now and probably solved for later because you did feel comfortable and you had accounted for the idea that you were going to have 4 quarterbacks to begin with. And look, I think the whole piece of it about what this means as far as those guys playing, it certainly creates a clearer path for them to play. But I think the equation is still the same.
By the way, Pittsburgh's carrying 4 quarterbacks to start their season. There are 4 quarterbacks on their active roster right now to start their year. It's a troubling thought. It is a troubling thought. That's why, guys, I want them to, if the season ain't going to go our way, I want Joe to do well. But if the season doesn't go our way, which it probably ain't going to go our way, even though I'm taking the over on wins, and I'll tell you why coming up at 6:43, if it isn't going to go our way, I want it to space out a little bit and make sure that Dylan would be ready, then Shador would be ready, and space that out so we don't have to see anybody else. Because even the people go, the circus is in town and you guys are all the clowns of the entire area talking about Shador. There's a curiosity there. There's definitely a curiosity to Dylan Gabriel going, hey, were all the writers right? Because people love to prove writers wrong. Were the writers right or were the writers wrong about training camp, about Dylan Gabriel? The other guy will make people go away. The other guy will turn fans away from the Cleveland Browns this year. I don't want that. I don't want it. I'll watch.
There's no
the
more,
other guy will turn the fans away.
There's no more curiosity about Deshaun.
No. This thing will end probably by June 1st of next year. Probably earlier than that, and that's it. And
I would say the only curiosity,
it's a bad chapter in our history, and we're ready to move on.
Yeah, the problem is, I saw people talking about this yesterday that are kind of plugged into the NFL and they understand, how the cap works and everything, and they're like, you're still looking at Deshaun on the roster for another year after this. There's no way they're going to absorb the cap hit that they would absorb that is still left. He's going to be on this team unless he got injured. Because I heard an afternoon show yesterday was saying, he's probably going to come out again and you're going to see more workout videos, and then there's going to be a setback. And that would not shock me. That does make sense. I don't think they're getting I think the days of hoping that the Browns are going to get some big settlement, some insurance settlement, I think that's not happening. I think you could just tell by what you're seeing out of Deshaun. He is trying to come back. He's not.
Well, because his career is on the line. His career's on the line.
Right.
If he doesn't play, if he doesn't prove that he's healthy this year, it's who really wants that for the future? So he wants to get on the field so he can prove he has some zeal. I don't think he wants to be here as much as anybody else wants him to be here, guys. I think that he's ready for a change of scenery, and certainly Browns fans are ready for a change of scenery when it comes to that as well. I think, though, that he knows that he's got to show something that, hey, the Browns are moving in a different direction. I got to move in a different direction. I'm getting my money no matter what. I want to still be able to play football and double dip and go ahead and do those things. And that only comes with him being able to be on the field. If he doesn't hit the field this year, it makes it more difficult to bring him in because you're bringing a lot of different conversations when you bring him in.
Yeah, but you said, and I think it's accurate, nobody wants to see him. There's no enthusiasm anymore. He still has some fans, sure. That's about it. But if he were to put together, we saw last time, when he put together a half of football, what that did to the fandom and big sections of the Browns fans. What if he did something like that again? What if he came in an emergency situation in November and put together a half. I've seen a lot of bad quarterbacks put a half together.
Well, all of a sudden we want to save this thing?
What if he did it?
If he had a second half against Baltimore, but he had a second half
and
against
Dylan and Shador look like they're not NFL quarterbacks or whatever.
Yeah, I want to see what Lenora Sellers looks like in the Palmetto Bowl. That's what I'm more interested in. That's what I'm much more interested in. Hey, if he's able to, fine. There's a little bit of a sliver there that he's paid off on the $230 million or whatever it is now guaranteed, because the number seems to grow and change and fluctuate every time we say the sentence. But I'm ready to move on. And let me be abundantly clear. I don't argue his right to work as a professional football player. That's not my argument. My argument is that fans simply don't want him on the field. They don't want to see him. They will tolerate a lot of other things. They are curious to see Shador, even if they don't like Shador. And there's a lot of people who like Shador who want to see Shador. Before him, there'll be Dylan Gabriel, and we just went over that. But when it comes to him, I think a lot of people will go click, and that's it. And if he does anything great, Ken and Anthony will tell me about it. That's about it. And they will move on. And I don't want that to happen. So if he plays, he plays. And I don't begrudge him for trying to play. Are you for the first time thinking there's a shot he'll get on the field this year? I told you last week I think there's a shot he gets on the field this year. If they've got rid of Kenny Pickett, I said yesterday, just yesterday, go, hey, we're one quarterback closer to the rookies. We're also one quarterback closer to Deshaun Watson. Because in 4 weeks or 5 weeks after he's off the IR and we actually go through the calendar here, he'll be a conversation to have about, should we carry 4 quarterbacks again? And we probably will carry 4 quarterbacks again. Because I think that he'll be eventually cleared to practice to some level to be able to play. I'm not sure. And if one of the other guys are there, you could always say, we feel that quarterbacks, Dylan Gabriel, Shador, enter their names whenever you want to. You can even bring back Joe and say, I'm trying to win football games, and I feel that this guy is better for our chance to win football games. And it's your opinion as the head coach, and you can say whatever you want to, and that's fine. But if there's only one guy in the cupboard there in your Mother Hubbard, you better be able to play the guy. Because you can't just refuse his right to work if that's going to be the way it goes. So you can go right on ahead and do it. I think a lot of people are thinking, hey, this is going to be a nice, easy settlement. He goes on, we go on, everybody's our separate ways. We can forget about this ugliness of the last how many years and move forward finally. It ain't going to be that easy. Because he still is trying to resurrect a career for his future. I don't think he wants to leave it where he's carted off the field while he's crying under a towel after an injury.
Well, fans are cheering it.
There was not that many fans who cheered it.
It sounded like it on TV.
There were some, but there were not that many fans who cheered it. I was in the stadium, for crying out loud. Coming up at 8 o'clock around the AFC North.
Ken in a suite for that game?
I was in a suite. I told you I was in a suite for that game. I was a guest of a friend of mine who was in my wedding. What do you want me to say? No.
Sometimes the sound doesn't really get inside the suite. That's all I'm saying. Somebody who's been in a suite before.
I was outside. I was in the seats. I wasn't back there getting ranch dip and bebopping and scatting the way you do. Don't do that. You always find I gotta go to break here. There's no way. Phil Steele going to join us at 9:20 this morning. We will preview Ohio State and Texas coming up at noon. Maybe Phil Steele will be in a suite for Ohio State and Texas, and why I'm taking the over on the Browns in 2025. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, live on the Fan.
are genius. See website for details.
Hey everybody, it's Andy Baskin from Baskin and Phelps. Ed Kelce, the father of the groom, and of course, future father-in-law of Taylor Swift. We'll talk about the American royal wedding everyone's talking about coming up Wednesday morning at 11 o'clock on Baskin and Phelps.
Baskin and Phelps, weekday mornings starting at 10. 92.3 The Fan.
We're live on YouTube, and they have found the comment box. Somebody is calling themselves the mod. Do we have an actual moderator for the comments?
I think we have somebody who has assumed the role.
Okay.
I don't think they were voted in. I don't think they passed a background check. I certainly don't think they did a drug
The
test.
closest they're getting to being the mod is Ahmad Rashad. There's no way. There's no mod.
There was no onboarding process here.
All guests courtesy of the Fan Hotline and all social media brought to you by Scheibman Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store.
Unless you can confidently say that a stapler was thrown at you, you can't be the mod.
Somebody said, what's Ken focused on in the background? This is 2 days in a row. And I'm like, well, it's either Owen or you. This is the background behind me. That's the background. I'm not looking back there.
Oh, they're just talking about, it looks like from where the cameras are situated, me and Ken look at each other.
Okay.
We look at each other when we're talking, or I'll look over here to my right and Owen is behind the glass. That's who we're looking at. If we just looked at the cameras the whole time.
I will. I'll look dead into the camera.
Do this.
We could do that. I think it would be unsettling.
Let's do a little exercise.
What?
Let's everyone look at Ken. Okay.
So they know. Hold on. Keep doing it.
Hi.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Everyone
Good to
look
see
at
everybody.
Anthony.
Okay, there's Anthony. Yeah, we're on YouTube. 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. There's Tone. There's Tone.
Now you guys both look at me.
Okay, there's Owen.
And this
We're
is
looking
what
at
that
Owen.
looks like.
Okay.
So now we have our directions.
Now I'm putting on a hat now.
I don't know if I'm port side or starboard or...
Now, that's... Well, I'm in Bay Village. I know those terms.
You gotta have it.
Okay, now what
now I'm
happens?
going to start messing around for the cameras here. This is what I'm going to do now.
Now yell at Mitch.
Yell at Mitch?
Hey!
Ask Mitch about that Santana audio.
Do we have the Santana audio?
We do.
Oh, where was it?
It's in the system if you guys check the chat.
Oh, it's in the system.
Oh, it's our fault now. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, yeah, that's it.
Was it
that's
in the
whose
chat?
fault it was.
Was it in the chat 40 minutes ago?
That's whose fault it was.
Asked for it.
Was it in the chat when I sat there and go, how did come nobody asked any questions? Was it in the chat then?
It was not.
It wasn't in the chat
So
then.
where-
So I don't think you should call us out.
Where
Mitch.
was it, Mitch?
I'm not calling anybody out here. I'm just telling you, if you check the chat, you will see the file name, and then we can play that audio.
Yeah, I got that in at 6:47. Well produced.
Mitch, where was it at 40 minutes ago?
I had a lot of stuff to work on before the show, so this is one thing that just slipped through the cracks.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of PA duties you're working on there on the east side. Here we go. Here is the question about Carlos Santana. Go ahead.
Santana is no longer with the ball club. Andrew is going to get a lot more opportunities.
Santana's still here.
I'm sorry, but Manzardo, what are your expectations for him?
I mean, he's been playing every day now for 3-4 months, so we're going to see he's going to continue to get a lot of at bats first right-handed pitching.
Is that the only clip that there is of Carlos Santana talking about Carlos Santana? Because I don't want to go shooting my mouth off again.
Going through both clips, yes.
Might want to check it with a fine-tooth comb. Because there's two other guys here that I trust. I'm not sure about the other one. Actually, Anthony Allan, I trust him.
Has he emerged?
Who?
Is he in the circle?
Oh, Atlante's been in the circle for a long time.
Right, since we're in there and you've talked about 3 people.
Here we go.
There's a jockeying for position here right now.
All right, you want me to be brutally honest about the
No,
cone
I
of
want you
trust?
to lie, Ken.
Number 1, Owen. Number 2, Tone. Number 3, Anthony Allan.
Glad to see him at top.
Number 4, Mackenzie next door. Number 5, Tim next door. Number 6, Jen next door. Number 7, Slats down the hallway. Number 8, Bill. Number 9, Alyssa. Number 10, just because he's a warm body in this building, Mitch.
If he starts naming ex-producers.
Abe Gordon, number 10. Sean, number 11. Landry, number 12.
If he starts naming ex-employees who were summarily dismissed.
I'm taking the over on the Browns in 2025. Can I tell you why?
Yes, absolutely.
All right,
Wait,
guys.
what is the total? Hold on. What is the total?
Well, that's the thing. I don't think I'm really hanging them over the fence here when I say that I'm taking the over when the over-under is 5.5. Or as
it
Owen
got up
has seen,
to 5.5?
Owen saw 4.5 at some books.
BetMGM, I think, had it at 4.5.
Is that an Aiden Huntington bounce?
That might be the Aiden Huntington bounce, who is also not on this clip sheet.
Did he talk yesterday?
Apparently he did, but I can't find anything here.
Well, Aiden Huntington did talk yesterday. One of the greatest intro to a guy I've ever heard.
Yeah. We'll play that for you coming up at 7:20 because there is a question about Myles Garrett in there and his leadership that we have to ask everybody at 7:20. Thank you, Owen. Thank you. So I'm taking the over on the Browns, and let me tell you why. I feel very good. God, I hope this doesn't jinx him. I feel very good. You speaking of Aiden Huntington, there's depth. I feel very good about the front four and the offensive line of this football team.
Do you feel better about them today than you did at the start of last year, where I thought you felt really good about them?
I did not feel that good about them. I did
You
not
didn't?
No.
Was Za'Darius?
I had injuries.
Shelby Harris?
I felt Za'Darius Smith. I felt good about. Shelby Harris is a nice hand. I don't think I felt that great.
A healthy Mike Hall, Obo. I feel like people were really high on the defensive line last year at this time.
I feel okay.
And now a bunch of those guys are either injured, gone, or whatever. Now we're high on them again.
I can only answer to this year, Anthony, because again, their offense looked different at the beginning of last year. I did not feel good about last year. I feel good this year because, again, let me get through the explanation. I'll do this as quick as possible because I know you want to pounce on me and beat me up for this. The front four, and I like the offensive line. I think that this is going to be a ball control offense as best they can. I do think because they have good offensive linemen, they will be able to run the ball. Now, it's not going to be prime Nick, so you can't just get a guy to fall forward and give you 4 yards at the very least. That's what Nick would do at the very least. At his best, he was the best in the NFL. So you're going to be able to control the ball. I think you're going to try to eliminate turnovers. They're not going to go big fly. And no, they're not going to beat probably Lamar Jackson. And they're not going to beat probably Jordan Love. And they're not going to beat probably Jared Goff. And who else is on that schedule that's an elite quarterback? If you get into a firefight with one of the great quarterbacks in this league, including, hell, I'll say it, Joe Burrow in week 1, you're probably not going to beat those guys. But if I find myself in a rock fight, which they are going to try to make it, I'll take our chances to get over 5 wins. That's where I'm saying it. I didn't say playoffs. I didn't say 11 wins. I didn't say win in the AFC North. I said the over. And boy, it's tough where we know what type of season we might be in for when you want to come after me for taking the over on a 5.5 win over undertone. That's where I'm at. I think the offensive line is good. They're veteran. I think the defensive line is good. You got some youth and veteran and depth for the first time in a while, real depth. And I think they're going to be able to go out there and win 6 games this year, which should not be a grandiose, bold statement for an NFL team.
Yeah, well, I've been between 4 and 5, so we're not that far apart.
Okay,
we're like
then.
one game.
Then why do I feel so attacked when I make these statements?
You're not attacked at all. It's most years you do pick the over, right? You have an existing bet with Zach Jackson.
And we haven't done it in a while. We used to have that.
I guess now it's more just a bet that's out there that, in general. You don't even if you lose, you don't even owe him anything anymore.
No.
It's just like, all right, Ken will take
we
over
really,
every year. Zach will take the under.
Yeah, me and him really haven't talked about it in the last few years. But yeah, I mean, it used to be for whiskey and Manchester football paraphernalia, and now it is what it is. So, yeah, for me to take 6 wins, is that so difficult to say? Is that such a nasty, homerish thing to say?
17 games, you're afforded more of an opportunity. Now, I will say, like, Joe Flacco's your starting quarterback going into the year. How was the town about last season going into the season at quarterback? Do I have my years mixed up already, or does it seem that far away? Was it last year at this time we were talking about the second half of the Baltimore Ravens game and why, all right, Deshaun is back. All the workout videos are the workout video. You know what I mean? Like, at this time last year, I feel like there were a lot of people who were more optimistic about QB than they are today. Because today it's Joe Flacco. Mike Sando said he was 31st out of 32, right? Or one of the quarterback tier lists, like you had the second worst quarterback.
Well, it's not an optimism.
I don't think people were talking that way about Deshaun last year. I think they were like, all right, at the very worst, Deshaun's not going to be as bad as what we've seen. And then, of course, we found out that, oh my God, he was awful.
I'm going to get to some of you guys on this. 216-474-0092. Are you willing to join me in taking the over on this team, or do you think I'm full of it? That, and hell yeah, I'm comfortable with Dylan Gabriel being one heartbeat away. I'll tell you why. It's 7:01 on the Fan.
Anthony Lyon.
Strus suffered the injury in recent weeks during his off-season workouts. He's expected to be out about 3 to 4 months. Headline sports news every 20 minutes on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Anthony Allant.
Find out what happened in Berea while you're working. The Afternoon Drive, weekdays at 2, 92.3 The Fan.
We're live on YouTube. Check it out, 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. I took the over. It shouldn't be a bold opinion when you're taking the over of 5.5 on the Cleveland Browns. And the reason is simple. I like the offensive line. Even if Ethan Posick is out, I am encouraged by Luke Whippler. He just has to stay healthy. Next year might not be that story. We don't know the future. I think we all know the future of Joel Bitonio. Let's be honest with each other. I'd be surprised if he were back next year. Wyatt Teller is up in the air. Jack Conklin's up in the air. I don't know how well I'm going to be feeling next year. And you probably had in a rookie quarterback on that. It's going to be smoke him if you got him time for the 2026 Cleveland Browns. But that's next year.
I agree with you on the offensive line. What I'm wondering about is, as it stands today, your wide receiver room is one of the worst in football. We can all agree.
Yes,
right?
it is.
Your running back room today
questionable
is one of the worst in football until I find out about Judkins.
See,
right?
I'm not willing to say worst. And that's me being hopeful, because I don't know. There's running back rooms that end up being good, like wide receiver.
That
you
have
kind of
no
know
names.
Yeah, but running backs is like, okay, Dylan Sampson can contribute. They have 2 running backs. Well, Kevin was very short about that, going, there will be more than 2 running backs.
Well, I mean, they have to.
He was very agitated. It seemed like he was a little bit agitated.
Are they playing the waiver wire on that, or are we getting Judkins news?
Yes, I think they're playing waiver wire on that. You talk about increasingly agitated. You are really agitated over the Judkins stuff. We can get back to that coming up later on.
And tight ends. I am very high. I think everybody's high who's been to camp on Fannin.
Tight end is either good or promising.
And
because
Njoku,
you have Harold Fannin.
And Njoku he's always been a little inconsistent, but he's been reliable in terms of production.
Yes.
And with Joe Flacco, I think both those guys have a chance to really blossom. Now, how many games can you win if your running backs are below average, if your receivers are below average?
Not that many.
How many games can you win?
Not that many. But that's the beauty of having an over-under at 5.5, is that there's still not that many. And it might put you the bad spot to this. And if you are one of the cynical fans, you're like, hey, I'm a Browns fan, but I am done. If you are a Browns fan, but you're done with Andrew Berry and done with Kevin Stefanski, and DeBodesta ain't going anywhere, so you can't sit there and hope for that to happen, because that's a Rasputin situation that ain't changing anytime soon, more than likely. So if you have those guys and you're tired of them, you could always go, well, that's not going to help me at all. Because, A, that's more likely that they stay. And if you don't trust Andrew Berry to make those picks, then, boy, you're going to have a real tough time trusting him to make the pick for the quarterback next year. And, B, you're not going to have a higher draft pick there if you win 6 games. I mean, that puts you, 5th? Probably 4th, somewhere in there if you're a 6-game winner. That might leave you out. So you're going to have to hope that, like, the Giants, you got to hope Jackson Dart looks promising and that they suck, because you want to be able to move with them. You got to hope that the Saints, that Tyler Shuck eventually plays, which, yeah, man.
Who's their starter again? Is it Spencer Rattler?
Spencer Rattler to start the season.
All right, that's worse. That's definitely worse than Joe Flacco.
Yes.
Right? We all can agree there.
You have to hope that Tyler Shuck looks good and they suck, because if he can't play and they suck, then they're just going to go back
to the well. Yep.
So that's what you have to hope right now. So we're doing a lot of long-term planning here, but I'm just pointing out that, yeah, and if I wear it, fine. I guess I've relied on the Browns for my happiness and I've failed again. That's a lesson I just can't learn. But I think that they're going to line up. They're going to try to run the football. They're going to try to eliminate these stupid pre-snap penalties, because hopefully they actually have a plan to go into games with instead of this scattershot stuff that they were doing before. And hopefully they eliminate these turnovers.
Elijah Moore's not here anymore, right?
No, Elijah Moore isn't here anymore. So you're hoping that they eliminate these turnovers, or do their best to eliminate these turnovers. And God, I pray that, can we just be +1 in the turnover margin? And if you're +1 in the turnover margin, I think you're winning 6 games this year. I can't sit there and pick which one, because we never know at the beginning of the season. I mean, there was the time that we thought for sure in 2017, when they did lose every game, that the Green Bay game was a guaranteed loss. You ended up taking on Huntley?
Yeah.
Who ended up playing against you. You were up by 14 going into the fourth quarter and still lost that game. So, I mean, things change during a regular season. So I can't pick which ones they're going to win.
Even last year, where It's amazing. We only won 3 games last year, but you were able to split the Baltimore series and the Pittsburgh series. And it feels like every year you're beating Cincinnati, Baltimore, and Pittsburgh. Is that going to continue this year? How do you feel about in the division grabbing some wins against the AFC North? I mean, we do AFC around the AFC North.
Like, do I feel better about the team then?
Just in general, we've been able, this has been a Stefanski strength, I believe. For so many years, under all the other coaches, we just lose to the AFC North teams. And that was when they had, AJ McCarron, when they had Andy Dalton. I keep thinking the backup. Ben
Roethlisberger, Joe Flacco.
Yeah, my God, those guys, they swept us every year almost. Mm-hmm. Well, under Stefanski, even with bad Browns teams, you've been able to beat AFC North teams. Is that going to continue this year? Baltimore. Are you going to be able to steal one from Baltimore? Are you going to be able to steal one
Baltimore looks to me like a 15-win team. Let me just answer it right now. I think you can split with the other two teams, and I think that Baltimore's going to get you.
You still should be able to split Cincinnati, but obviously we know how this looks if you don't beat Cincinnati in the opener.
But I did just get done saying I can't really pick which ones they're going to win on the schedule right now because, again, if Lamar Jackson goes down, what do they have behind him? Now, they still are probably a team that can stay afloat, but we can't guarantee those things. So the only thing that I'm pointing out is that the schedule changes. And the only thing I can guarantee that as of right now, with everybody healthy, I can't guarantee it, but the only thing I think right now with everybody healthy is that I think they're going to get to 6 wins. Now, again, 6 wins could be a negative thing for a lot of fans out there, depending on how you're seeing this season. Because I think there's plenty of people who are going, Kenny, I'm done with Kevin. I'm done with Andrew. I'm tired of you telling me they're nice guys. I don't care if they're jerks. I don't care if they throw old women down the steps. They want to win. And so they don't care. And they probably are hoping that it is a proven point. I bet there's a lot of fans out there that are hoping it's a proven point that these guys ain't it, that there needs to be a regime change, and we're going to have a high pick. That's what I think they're hoping for. And 3-14 last year and running it back with some of the ideas that they've had in the past would tell them that they are perfectly within their right to think that way. I disagree, but they're perfectly in their right to think that way. Because my disagreement is just on the fact that I don't like a lot of change and I want it to work out with them. But other than that, I don't have a whole lot to go on here. I mean, when I brought up the Kenny Pickett thing yesterday, I had a couple of people, and I was doing the Zach Jackson line. I said, guys, I would have rather had not traded for Kenny Pickett, given the reps to the young kids, and then worked our way throughout there. Well, we got a higher fifth. We set a high bar around here for success, don't we? We did get a higher fifth out of it for Kenny Pickett. But, 20 or 30 reps. I don't know. We just spent 4 weeks bickering with each other about how many reps Shedeur Sanders was not getting. I would have rather just handed him the reps with Dylan Gabriel and been on with it, especially because he was still getting reps while he was injured. That's the ticky-tack fights we are having right now. And I'm not trying to get personal with anybody, but these are the ticky-tack fights we're having right now because we're holding on to anything because I don't want the guys really fired, but I can't make big arguments for him. I can't make a tremendous argument for him. And I think that that's part of the reason in the back of my head over this last month that I have been so overzealous about Shedeur. Because I want it to work. I want this to work. I hate looking for coaches. I hate looking for GMs. If I look for quarterbacks, guys, you watch the games on Saturday, you're going to see Cade Klubnik go on against Garrett Nussmeier. Boom, that's fish in a barrel. You're going to get to see it. You're going to have a commentary on it. I have to sit there and work phones and try to text people that I haven't kept up with in months when we talk about head coaches. And when it comes to general managers, it's even worse because that's all theory, and they all hate each other. All the scouts hate each other, so they all talk trash about each other, so you don't know what you're getting. When they got Andrew Berry, true or not, Tone? I mean, you work the phones better than I do in a lot of things. How many people were sitting there saying nice things about Andrew? The media was saying nice things about Andrew. There were plenty of guys going, this guy sucks. You guys are idiots to bring him in. And I go, no. We had Andrew in Cleveland. I mean, it happens all the time. So I hate it. I don't want to go looking for new guys. I want Andrew to work. 216-474-0092. Am I right to take the over here?
We're so close on how we feel about this team, and you're always a little more optimistic in this case. I think you made a great case with the lines. I do think they have a chance to be really good. I just question, is the offense going to be good with Joe Flacco? The defense seems like it should be really good. You are relying big time on a rookie at linebacker who has looked awesome in the preseason, but is he going to be as good as JOK has been the last few years? I know the different types of players.
I've left my back door open on this argument, and you haven't found it yet. I want to see if you find it after this call. Cool Ray in Bedford, you're next up on the Fan. Hello.
Hey, what's up, man?
Hi.
Hey, you right. I'm one of those guys. This regime need to be gone, 100%.
I told you.
And it's not because you guys talk like Kevin has inherited this team. He had a good team. Now this is a rebuild. And then real Browns fans, we don't really care about splitting the wins a lot between Baltimore and all those guys. We don't really care about that. At the end of the year, we at the bottom of the AFC North. We care about winning and become a playoff team and a Super Bowl contending team. To be at the bottom and just to say, oh, we beat Pittsburgh and Pittsburgh's going to the playoff, or we beat one game in Baltimore and Baltimore's going to the playoff, and we watching these guys in November and September, and going to the playoff. We don't care about that, man. We want to be part of that. We want playoff games here in Cleveland. That's what we want.
Well, you're going to have to crawl before you walk. It ain't going to happen this year. So you want these guys to fail is what you're telling me, Cool Ray? You think it's better for the franchise's health?
They already done failed. They've been failing for 7 years now. They failed already.
Well, they're still there. So you're going to have to hope for another year of failure. Are you willing to root against your favorite football team then, Cool Ray?
Absolutely. If it means to get them guys out of here, yes. We are the Dallas Cowboys in reverse with Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones will fire a coach and coach himself, and the Haslam will keep a bad coach and just keep selling.
You really want to use Jerry Jones as an example of the good on this?
That's exactly what's happening, man. Jerry Jones will fire a coach, a Hall of Fame coach, and continue to win, and we will keep a bad coach and continue to lose.
I don't know. Man, you lost me at Jerry Jones, Cool Ray. Frank in Cleveland, got to be quick. Go ahead.
Hey, fellas, I'm just saying, I'm with you, Ken. I don't think we're going to be as bad as everybody thinking we're going to be. We're going to be in a lot of closer games more than anything, but I got 6 out of this. I put it in last night. I put them on my thing for 6 games, man.
Frank, I thank you very much for the call. 216-474-0092. I left my back door open on this argument. I give Tone 5 minutes to realize where there's a flaw in my over. And yes, I'm comfortable with Dylan Gabriel being one heartbeat away and leadership out of Myles Garrett. It's all coming up. Ken Crum and Anthony Lima live on the Fan.
Anthony Lima.
PUP list yesterday as well, ruling him out for the first 4 games of the season as he continues to work his way back from that Achilles tear and re-tear suffered last season. Headline sports news every 20 minutes on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Anthony Allant.
AFC North at 8:01. Vinnie Serado, 105.7 The Fan in Baltimore. Former general manager James Rapin, Locked On Bengals in Cincinnati. And yes, Andrew Filipony, Pittsburgh. 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh. Going to join us on the show. We'll talk about the Steelers keeping 4 quarterbacks. Here's a nice how do you do. Phil Steele going to join us. Phil Steele's college football preview. 9:21 this morning. Buckeyes taking on the Texas Longhorns. I got a stealing feeling about the Buckeyes, and I'll tell you why. Lime, I gave you 5 minutes to poke a hole before we get moving on here. I'm going to take another call. We're going to move on to another thing about Dylan Gabriel here. I gave you 5 minutes to poke a hole in my reason why I'm taking the over on the Browns, which is it's only 5.5, guys. Did you find the reason? I'm going to give you a reason.
Yeah, one thought popped into my head about the fly in the ointment here, because you talked about the good offensive line, defensive line, chemistry that Joe Flacco has with maybe he could get things going. I think I could think about kicking.
Ooh, no.
Okay.
But good thought.
Okay.
Good thought.
Because we have no idea if they've got an NFL kicker right now.
No, we don't.
We're going to hope. And I did have a thought about that. I don't know if you want to push that ahead about a question I had on how they did the kicking battle.
I don't care.
This camp.
You want to do it now? Do it now.
Just
you do
real
it later,
quick.
do it later.
Real quick. They didn't do anything in front of cameras except the preseason games for the kickers.
Okay.
Why is that? Why wouldn't they have added a little bit? I'm not saying a camera is there going to change a kicker's entire anxiety levels.
I guess there wasn't that many.
But why wouldn't you trot out the kickers and add some importance to it? Like, say, TV cameras, local affiliates, come on out. Daryl Ryder and your camera. Daryl's got an excellent camera, and he does paid work. I have paid him to do some photography.
Thought that was in poor taste by you, but either way.
What if they brought out all the fans? Anybody have a camera? Come on out. Come on out to midfield right now at the end of practice. Competition time. Let's go.
Probably because they wanted Dustin Hopkins to work out.
Yeah, I know.
That's probably why. There's enough pressure being in the stadium, and they didn't want to have to answer it every day.
Furthermore,
they don't
I
want
got
to do it
another
every day. Which I got to tell you, I invite all the pressure in the world when it comes to a kicker. I want to know. I want to have that confidence.
I don't even know. Could you say, all right, every night, because you got the kickers at training camp, but it's weird. It's weird. Those are so not remotely like kicking in a stadium, whatever. What if every night, maybe, Kevin Stefanski wants to spend time with his family. I don't even know if Kevin would need to be there. What if you opened up the stadium and every night or 4 nights a week or 3 nights a week said, we're doing our kicking competition again. It's Tuesday. Anybody that wants to pull up this free parking.
No one's going to the stadium just to watch the kickers.
Oh, you don't think the 537 boys would love, and then you come out.
The 537 boys got to go to work so they can afford the tickets in the 537.
I am absolutely showing up at the Greater Cleveland kickoff every night.
Maybe you only do it once a week. Maybe you only do it once a week because someone's got to pay security, but the Browns are worth $5 billion. Okay, come on. So you say free parking. Let us run out to the stadium, and we are doing a kickoff once a week, and we are televising it on our website. We are posting it. If the affiliates want to go live with it, if like during the sportscasts, we throw it out. Let's see how the kicking competition's doing. Do you think that would be a better gauge than whatever the hell we just did over the last month and a half, where they refused to show the kickers? No, I don't. We kept the kickers hidden. That's going to garner them some real reps when games are on the line. That'll do it.
I think that there's nothing
kicking
that
in front of nobody.
And because I don't think that people would show up You know what? If the stadium was more conveniently located, maybe some people will show up in 2029 to watch the kickers.
And
but there's only
turf. You wouldn't have to worry about ruining the
there's
kicking
only
surface.
so many ways in and so many ways out, and I can't just be letting people willy-nilly in the stadium to go watch the kickers and
That'd
then have
be
to leave in 10 minutes.
That'd be amazing. You only get it's only going on for 10 minutes. That's all you get.
So and
you don't get anything. There's nothing. There's no giveaways. You just watch, and you are here to make the kickers better kickers through real competition on the real field that they'll be kicking the balls.
Can we at least have a tally box where you put your vote in for I vote for Schmidt,
and everybody leaves? Yeah, like American Idol, but it's in person.
Do it on the app. Do it on the Browns app, and then put it up on the scoreboard in real time so the kickers can see it.
Be amazing. Now that's like a Black Mirror episode.
Of course, on the kicker confidence
meter. They could
meter.
watch it as it's going down. They could see the public sentiment sway for and against them like a roller coaster. That's how all kicking competitions will be settled on my football team.
That whole diatribe was not any part of my reason why I took the over, or why I could poke hole in my own over. The reason why I could poke a hole, and I can't believe you didn't see it, is what are you going to do when the rookies play? Because I can trust Joe Flacco to conduct the offense and be the maestro. And hey, this is I know he's going. There's going to be a 2-minute drive, and he's probably going to throw a bad interception, and that's it. 24-23. Everybody go home. That might suck. But when he gets those rookies in there, can Dylan Gabriel, under duress, do what he's asked to do? See, that's why Kevin trusts Dylan Gabriel. As much as we can go, because we're just curious. We want to see what Shedeur can do. I think on Saturday, a lot of them bad habits, trying to run out of the pocket instead of stepping up and going left or right. Holding on to the ball, you're not as comfortable. It's going to take hold. Can you get to 6 when Dylan and Shedeur are in there? Because I made an argument as much as I could, and you can't just hand the ball off every single down. You're going to have to throw it.
Now, who did Kevin...
Shedeur
can we give Kevin some benefit of the doubt? He's won games with P.J. Walker.
I know
we went through the list of quarterbacks
P.J. Walker and this is the scary thing. P.J. Walker had his trust in Kevin Stefanski. He had no other choice. Dylan will give his trust, at least we think, to Kevin Stefanski. Shedeur, and this is where people are going to take this the wrong way, whatever. Shedeur, remember... You had Sean Lewis. There was not a lot of trust there. Sean was gone, went to San Diego State. Then you had Pat Shurmur. He's had a very tight-knit group. Now he's in the NFL. You got to trust somebody in a short amount of time. And your head's been spinning since April. I'm trying to be understanding with him here. That's all I'm going to say about him because I know we got other things to do. But you got to be able to trust each other. Can Kevin trust him enough to put him in the position that's going to help him the best? Can Shedeur trust him enough? Because this is a different animal than anything he's dealt with. And I think it's going to be very hard. It would be hard for me to trust if I was supposed to be a first-round pick and I ended up in the 5th round and I became a talking point for everybody out there and I was the second biggest story on ESPN just for making the football team. I hope that we do see him. I hope we do see him later than sooner because I need this all to settle down. I need more conversation in Cleveland about Joe and about Dylan before I take over. And that's where my over takes a hit. Dennis in Brook Park, you're next up on the Fan. Hello, Dennis.
Good morning, fellas.
Hi, Dennis.
Okay, let's get into this. So, 6 wins, does that really do anything for anybody?
No.
Right, unless you're putting $1 million down on it or something like. So, Flacco needs to not even be in the conversation as quarterback right now. He needs to be the backup, number 2, right? We need to find out sooner rather than later whether Gabriel or Sanders can be the guy moving forward. And we all know why. Next year, right, we have 2 number 1 draft picks. I do not trust this management group. I do not have trust or faith in Barry at all to make the right decision with those 2 picks next year if we need a quarterback. What are they going to do? Package both first-round picks, move up to number 1, and they'll still screw it up. We need to know that we have the guy now. And if not, then we need to go 0-17 or 1-16 with that 1 win can be in Pittsburgh. I don't care. But we need to solidify the number 1 overall pick next year, because if anybody thinks that the Browns are going to the Super Bowl or even challenging the AFC for rights to the Super Bowl, they're delusional.
All right. Well, Dennis, what you've said long term, I think a lot of people agree with. What you've said for this team is completely irresponsible.
How is that irresponsible?
Because they're trying to win a football game to start the season. They got to do right by their veterans.
What they do? Everybody gets drunk and has a good time with one win, and then we win 6 games. We're not going nowhere.
Dennis, you're thinking about it like you're not in a uniform. You have to play with it a little bit. And Dennis, thank you very much for the call. See, for a lot of people, it's just like, hey, they go out there and they suck, they get fired, I win anyway. They suck, they get fired, and we get the first overall pick, I win anyway. But in the grand scheme of things with this team, that's a completely irresponsible way to look at it. Dylan's not ready to play. Shador's not ready to play yet. And you have Joe Flacco, who's obviously ready to play. He's been in the league for 17 years. Yes.
There's no point of him being the backup on the team.
No. Then
He's
you would have just
only
kept
here to
Kenny
be the
Pickett.
starting quarterback.
You would have just kept
Yes.
Kenny Pickett then and traded away Joe Flacco.
Yes.
I don't know what for, but you would have traded away Joe Flacco.
Yeah, that would almost be like the Jacoby Brissett situations we've seen. Was that with Drake May?
Now,
whatever.
yes.
Like yeah, I agree. That would make no sense whatsoever.
What I just said, though, about my back door being open on my argument about the 5.5 win over, are you comfortable with Dylan Gabriel being a heartbeat away from the quarterback spot?
No, not right now.
Can Coach Lance change your mind on afternoon drive?
I think he's a quarterback that you can win with right now. I do. I don't think he's a quarterback you can win because of. What I mean by that is that when he struggled, when he was struggling really bad in camp, it was accuracy. But all the stuff that can allow you to win with a quarterback, his ability to set protections, his ability to get in and out of the huddle, to call plays, that's all been really, really solid with him. However, the accuracy was off, and it was off for about 3 to 4 days, maybe even 5 days. Again, I don't think he's a guy you can rely on, but I think he's a guy who can get you into the right run game. I think he's a guy that can make some throws if needed. Obviously, punt the ball on third down, all the things I say all the time. But I do think he's a guy who can start and a guy you can win with right now.
That's why Dylan Gabriel's number 2, because what Coach Lance just said, I couldn't have put it any better myself. He knows what the hell he's talking about, Coach Lance Reisland does, and he's right as rain there. Because when Dylan Gabriel goes in, if he has to go in sooner because of injury, if he has to be thrust into a position, he is going to do exactly as Kevin says. There's already the knowledge of the offense that's there, so he'll be able to do it. It's not that Shador will go out on his own and completely defy Kevin Stefanski. It's that they might not trust him enough to follow those instructions implicitly. He may not know the offense well enough just yet to be able to do that. People don't take that the wrong way. Hear the context of all this. For Dylan, there's already that knowledge of the offense where if things go bad with Joe, if there's an injury, and I know that Dylan's slight, but man, he's going to be able to do exactly as he's told. And he may put himself in a bad spot. That's why you were able to win with P.J. Walker. Why? Because he did exactly what he was told. And the one time that he didn't do exactly what he was told, you lost to Seattle. Yep. But other than that, he did exactly what he was told. And the one time he didn't, everybody knew about it because Kevin had no problem telling everybody that he did not do what he was told. And Dylan will do as told, and hopefully by the time Shador is able to play, because it's set up to help Shador, he will do as he's told to go out with the offense there. So that's why I feel as comfortable as I'm going to feel. I don't feel great if he had to go in there in week 2, but I'm going to feel as comfortable as I possibly could if Dylan Gabriel is there. Like I can... If they run the Stefanski offense and they're going to run the ball more and they're going to do short routes and grind and work the clock and have these long drawn-out rock fights, I trust Kevin Stefanski in that sense, and I trust Dylan Gabriel in that sense. So it's not the perfect scenario, but how can I sit here and say, yeah, I'm not really interested in Kenny Pickett, and then turn right around the next day and say, I'm totally uncomfortable with Dylan Gabriel? I'm not going to have the most confidence in the world because they're not franchise quarterbacks. I have confidence in Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. Well, I ain't got those guys. So now I have to go with these guys, and I feel about as comfortable as I'm going to be with these 3 guys on this football team at different times. So if Dylan Gabriel comes in week 10, I'm going to feel pretty comfortable in him. When Shador Sanders comes in week 14 or something like that, I'm going to go, hell, he's had 14 weeks to learn, 15 with the bye, to learn this offense. Godspeed, young man. Let's see what you can do, and let's see if you can follow the offense. I'll feel as comfortable as I can about those guys, and I do feel comfortable, confident, maybe a different conversation, but I'll feel comfortable about Dylan Gabriel if things go naturally.
It's hard for me to get there now for a guy that I think widely viewed as overdrafted, and a lot of his college stuff, like you go back and look at the highlights against Ohio State when he lit them up, or one corner in particular, still thinking about, was that Denzel Burke, poor Burke in that game. But it was out of the gun.
That was a pull.
Out of the gun, out of the gun, out of the gun. One read, and it was working. But that is so dramatically different from what I think Kevin Stefanski would be asking him to do. I'm not saying he can. He played more college football than just about anybody in the history of college football at the position of quarterback. But if Flacco were to go down week 1, week 2, I mean, I think you're in for a world of hurt with Dylan Gabriel as your quarterback.
Hey, Tone, did you know local Cleveland man gets married? Local Cleveland man and singer, they're getting engaged. It's all coming up in About Last Night with the same gag from everybody on the Fan.
XTENDAV.com, extend.
are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
So much can happen around the globe that we never hear of.
I really share in our fans' disappointment, frustration. Honestly, I'm embarrassed.
They've been through some tough battles, right? They know what the playoffs looks like. This team's been battle-tested in the playoffs.
He's a piece of crap. The kid, he sucks. He sucked his whole career.
I got rumors about him. How he couldn't please his wife, and so now he's divorced.
Put a damn winning team on the field.
Now the Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima give their thoughts on what you might have missed about last night.
We had some big news from the world of football yesterday, even bigger than any of the cuts that were made in the 53-man roster finalizations. We have wedding bells coming soon, boys, as Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce officially announced their engagement via an Instagram post on Taylor Swift's page that has accumulated 28.5 million likes, captioning it with "Your English teacher and your gym teacher are getting married." So it's official. Our boy Travis Kelce off the market.
I think it's a very nice thing. I texted some people yesterday. I thought it was very cool that a guy who was in our studio. How long has he been in the NFL?
2013, I believe, is when he was here.
So the guy who was just in our studio not too terribly long ago, but a long time ago, was just a young man, talking about how he was looking for an opportunity in the NFL, talking to Adam and Dustin, and was so nice and happy-go-lucky, turns into a first-ballot Hall of Famer, a multiple-time Super Bowl champion, and is getting hitched to one of the biggest pop stars in music history, in the history of the world, in the history of music. What a world, what a country. What a world, what a country. I think it's a cool thing, man. I really do.
How do Chiefs fans feel about this one? Are you concerned that now his focus has shifted? Is it not necessarily
I think his focus has
football?
been on her for 2 years.
So is that why they weren't able to win last year?
No, I don't think that's
But he was wooing.
They had no pass blocking.
He was wooing. Now he's getting married.
Yeah.
So it's
maybe something no longer an obstacle.
Remember when they were at the driving range in
He's
The Departed?
going to start playing good football.
And Alec Baldwin was telling Matt Damon about getting married, and at least somebody could stand that. You know what I mean? Like that's how I feel. That's how I would feel as a football fan.
I didn't even think of that though, Ken. But I remember that day that he came in the first time, and it was like a kid that was just excited to be downtown in the city. Right? He was wearing his Cincinnati gym shorts.
Yeah, he was.
And to think about that moment to where he's at now, where he's the most popular, one of the top popular athletes worldwide right now because of Taylor Swift.
I think it's really cool.
I did send, or I'm in the process of sending Ken. I think it's dastardly.
I can't believe you're telling people that.
Well, it's dastardly. It's I go online and there is a certain section of social media that is like, just so you know, this is who he's moved on from to get to Taylor Swift. And they're showing these women that don't have a profile anything like Taylor Swift. They have their physiques are completely different. They look dramatically different than Taylor Swift. And Ken's taking a look-see right now at some of those photos.
I bet he is.
He's definitely changed his mindset. I've seen that happen. Sometimes you wonder if Stefanski, he's like a certain type of quarterback all these years. Will he eventually go to a different type of quarterback?
Yeah. I'm a happily married man, but I like all this. This is something I really like.
Going from that over,
it's a different Adam Schefter.
You guys can host
it's a different Adam Schefter.
You guys can host the rest of the segment together.
I'm so scared now that Kelce's going to push to get this last Super Bowl win, man. Because there were people yesterday being like,
Travis.
He was planning to propose after the Super Bowl. No, I think he was.
Oh, if they would have won,
yes.
Yeah, but then it's taking a moment. Are you stealing a moment from your teammates, or in turn, is the football stealing a moment from Taylor?
But remember, people love that Boise State guy from years ago after the Fiesta Bowl. They love that. That'll be on a bigger scale.
Yeah, I just seriously wonder how much time they'll be spending in Cleveland post-retirement. Will you get a chance to see Taylor Swift walking the mean streets of Cleveland?
We definitely will probably get her on a tour at some point. Meanwhile, we won't be getting Dave Portnoy at Ohio Stadium, seemingly so this Saturday as part of Big Noon Kickoff. We talked about that with Brady Quinn yesterday on the show. And Dave put out a statement on Instagram yesterday talking about the ban and how the big, bad, maize and gold has just apparently broken the scarlet and gray.
Now, we formed this big relationship with Fox, and I'm always cognizant of our partners and trying to do right by them, and they definitely got put in a weird spot. How could anybody see that crying Ryan Day and Ohio State would be this soft? But Michigan has just broken Ohio State. They see this face, it's the boogeyman. So Fox was like, yeah, this will be great. We'll bring in Dave, spice things up. No, Ohio State literally can't even focus on Texas. Like, just, we cannot have Dave on the set. We just can't.
You also had to call out a Bobby Carpenter at some point during that rant.
Really?
Yeah, after Carpenter kind of had a comment on it on 97.1 the other day down in Columbus regarding the whole matter, and he called it a podcast that nobody listens to.
See, I took this as, and you got to get Ken. I'm surprised you didn't lash out at Mitch. He said maize and gold.
This is all the same woman.
Yeah, that. But there are others. There are others like it.
Can I see? Can you send me some of the others?
I will try to find that.
Maize and blue. Sorry.
Yeah, the thing here is, Mitch, there's been some reporting now that I don't know if you believe it or whatever, but it debunks this and said it was more of a Big Ten decision. I think all this is great for the show, for Big Noon Kickoff and the pregame show. There's going to be so much scuttlebutt about this, and how are they going to weave Portnoy into the broadcast? He says he's no longer coming to Columbus at all. He was going to be in Columbus. He was obviously going to be on camera there. I don't know if he was going to be in the stadium or outside the stadium, but, you've got ESPN. It's Lee Corso's last game day. So what are you going to watch?
I'm waiting for the Garrett Seawright article on Monday about the passing of the ugly torch in sports media, where we go from the Paragon Lee Corso to whatever they're going to do on Big Noon Kickoff, where he's probably going to do a WWE-style run-in on the desk on Fox.
Well, Ross Dellinger says this was a league-wide consideration from top individuals across the conference, and it was not an Ohio State situation. Remember, Portnoy is a big-time booster for Michigan. He has said plenty of incendiary things against players at Ohio State, and he has had wild accusations about Ohio State, so it doesn't shock me that they wouldn't want him anywhere near the program.
Apparently you said maize and gold instead of maize and blue.
The Michigan
Who
man.
said that?
The Michigan man already texted.
You were
We
too
got
busy,
it.
looking at those pictures.
I know. He was distracted when I brought
totally
it up the first two
distracted.
times.
I am still
We did
distracted.
this already.
Go ahead, Mitch. Big Cavs news.
Well, listen to this one. Yes, you mentioned the Cavaliers news yesterday. Another player going to be out multiple months with a foot injury. Max Strus underwent surgery to repair a Jones fracture in his left foot. Will miss around 3 to 4 months, the team announced Tuesday. This is a guy on a 4-year, $63 million contract. Already missed the first 2 months of last year with a right ankle sprain. Tough break.
I am on a text thread with plenty of podiatrists. They were very nervous about this injury and what it means for the season.
What are you saying? Are you serious?
Oh, they think he could miss the season. He's going to be reevaluated in 3 to 4 months, and because of the blood flow situation to that particular part of the body.
Is the podiatrist I know?
There's a few of them.
The podiatrist we've drank with?
I'm trying to think.
In a different state?
He's not on that one, actually. He's not at the...
Okay.
You have a whole different group of
I have different podiatrist friends. But they are very concerned about this injury. And what stinks is...
Lima's on a group thread obsessed with feet. There's a surprise.
I see a lot of pictures of them, too. A lot of pictures. But here's the thing. Like, Max Strus, I always thought and I thought he had a great year last year until, the elimination game where he was like 0 for 9. I thought he was so much better last year doing a lot of little things, a lot of playmaking. So think about, they have lost, Ty Jerome, which was huge for them, monumental in the regular season, we know. And in the Miami series, he was great. But he was terrible in 5 games, the Indiana series, and they said, we're moving on. Okay, they are losing that. They're also losing Max Strus for a significant portion of this year, if not the whole year. And he showed a lot of playmaking in terms of running the pick and roll. He's a try-hard on defense.
Bring me Malik Beasley.
So... This is very, very concerning.
What are you whistling at me for? Bring me Malik Beasley. I don't have time for these feet problems.
You don't have trust in DeAndre Hunter or Jalen Tyson filling that void?
I would still like to add, and I would bring in Malik Beasley. I don't care. It ain't my money, and I need guys who have healthy feet.
Now, I was always going to say Max should be a bench player. He should not on a team with the 2 small guards, have then one of the smallest threes in the league. Like, it made no sense to me. And I think that does cause them issues on both ends come playoff time. And I think we've seen that. But this is a big blow. I mean, and this is coming from someone who ridiculed Max Strus a lot, but he proved me wrong. I mean, he was really, really good last year. And now to lose him, and I'm telling you, people are just glossing over losing Ty Jerome. He was unbelievable. There was no drop-off from Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland the minute Ty Jerome would come into these games. And they don't have that now.
Tough break. And finally, we have here Parker Messick getting his first win, and the Guardians slump-busting win last night over the Rays 3-0. This is Messick on Guardians TV talking about his first MLB win.
It's awesome. I mean, I've been waiting on it. Wanted to get the first one, couldn't get it, unfortunately, but the goal is every time to go out here and try and get a win, so I'm happy I got to experience that first one.
Good for that young man. I'm trying not to put too much on him because the rest of the rotation has been not as promising as we hoped it would be.
I just apologize for not including him in our power rankings of potential aces yesterday. That's it for About Last Night.
There's Mitch in About Last Night. Coming up next, I hope that I get sent more of these pictures from Tone. And we go around the AFC North. Vinnie Serado, 105.7 The Fan in Baltimore. James Rapin in Cincinnati, Locked on Bengals, where is it Super Bowl or bust for the Bengals? And Andrew Filipony, where they're keeping 4 quarterbacks on their active roster in Pittsburgh. Ken Carman, Anthony Lyman, take us with you to work on that free Odyssey app.
Are you feeling like
Did the young quarterbacks play at all? And if they did, how did they look? Did Stefanski keep the locker room when tough time hits? Because you're not an 11-win team. At some point, tough times are going to hit.
I'm going to have a hard time with a lot of this because there is a part of me that I just need to see Stefanski get in the win column. And that might just be that it's hard to do with this team.
The Afternoon Drive. Weekdays starting at 2. We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
It's high time to go around the AFC North. All guests appear on the Fan Hotline, and we got 3 of them. As we're in that weird week between the preseason and the season. And first joining us, Vinnie Serado, 105.7 The Fan in Baltimore. Ravens made some cuts. Vinnie, were you surprised by any of them?
Jalen Armour Davis, I was surprised that he got cut. Other than that, not really. Otherwise, pretty expected everything else.
I saw that the Ravens extended this streak of having at least one undrafted rookie making the initial 53 in 21 of the past 22 years. Does it feel like that's something that they pride themselves in?
Possibly. I mean, they had three undrafted, and they drafted 11 dudes, and they kept a corner, and they kept an inside linebacker. I mean, they had 2 corners that they drafted that both went on IR, earlier in training camp. Otherwise, maybe then they don't have this undrafted, 2 DBs make it, 1 safety, 1 corner. So, do they pride themselves? Yeah, I would.
Is it at all a recognition that possibly this roster needs to start to pivot a little bit and go in a different direction with that many young guys coming into the fray?
No, they got the best roster in football. They're good. They're deep. No, their roster is excellent.
Well, I know in Cleveland, every time the undrafted free agents, make the team, it's because, the roster's not that good. But in years past, when, it was other teams plucking our guys, it was, we've got such a great roster. And I just thought it was interesting to have that many guys, that many spots available to begin with.
Well, they cut guys that were on the team last year, with the undrafted guys. These undrafted guys, that they got, they played well. They practiced well. I was at every practice. They practiced well. They deserved it. And, and some of the draft picks didn't make it, and so it is what it is. And that's good for them. Good for the Ravens.
Lamar's injury, how much of a talking point was it on your guys' shows, or was it no big deal for you guys?
Oh, it was huge. It was huge for a couple of days, and then once he practiced on Monday, then it was back to normal.
Forgive me, because I didn't get a chance to really see or get a chance to ask any of you guys. Why were we talking about feet and then it ended up being wrists?
Well, it was his foot. He got stepped on. Adam Schefter reported.
Wrist and then ended up being feet. I'm sorry. Yes. I got confused. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Vinnie.
Yeah, Adam Schefter reported a wrist, but then the Ravens came out and said it was his foot, and it was his foot. He did get stepped on, but then all is well. He had X-rays. X-rays were negative, so they were nervous too, which rightfully so.
When this is a team that's I said earlier in the show this could be a 15-win team, but they've been to the postseason now a lot of years with Lamar. There's major, hey, are we going to get over the hump? Are we going to get over that? Do you guys care about the regular season there now, or is it just this is a formality and it's just about the postseason to you?
It's all about the postseason for the Ravens and for Lamar. That's all anybody cares about. Okay, that's great. You won 15. What are you going to do in the postseason? And that's what everybody cares about, and that's what they're going to have to overcome. And can they? I don't know. They turned the ball over too much. They beat themselves. I looked at the stats from the Buffalo game yesterday. They had 475 yards. They rushed for 176 yards. And they lost because they turned it over 3 times.
Real quick, I like to ask everybody at least one question about the same thing. Do you think that Deshaun Watson will play for the Browns this year?
No. Strong no.
Strong no.
Get him out.
Vinnie Serado, 105.7 The Fan in Baltimore. We now go to Cincinnati, where the Bengals, all of a sudden it may seem like a do-or-die type year for the Cincinnati Bengals now that Trey Hendrickson has like a 1-year deal and then that's about it. Does it feel like it's Super Bowl or bust for the Bengals? James Rapin.
Yes, that's fair. I think anytime you have Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and you've spent the money that they've spent on these guys, they are expecting to be in that conversation and to make the playoffs for the first time in a couple of years. So, yeah, Super Bowl or bust, I think they would agree that that's their plan to get to Santa Clara.
I know it always seems, James, like the first game of the year, it's life or death and the biggest opener we've had. But I kind of feel when I started kind of weighing, on the scales of how big this game is for both teams to start out, it does seem like if Cincinnati lost to the Browns, the 3-14 Browns with Joe Flacco as the quarterback in week 1, I think you're going to be written off by just about everybody in the NFL.
Ooh.
Yeah, you're right, because the Bengals should beat the Browns. I'm not saying they will, but they should. And if they are a true Super Bowl contender, they should be able to go up there and win that game and do enough to get by, even if they're not playing their best football. And I think that's the importance of what the Bengals haven't done in the past 2 Septembers that they need to do this September. Even if you're not playing your best, you find ways to win games and you don't put yourself in this 0-2 hole, which they've done in each of the past 3 seasons. So, yeah, they should go up to Cleveland and win. I'm not sure if they're going to, but they should.
What's stopping you short? Because you just talked about, and I imagine you think there's a lot of advantages there for the Bengals, and yet you are stopping short from just saying, they're going to go out there, they're going to win. They're 6-point favorites or whatever. They're going to win.
Well, they've historically, and I don't have to tell you guys this, they've struggled with the Browns, and it is a tough matchup. I don't think it's going to be an easy game by any stretch because there's that guy named Myles Garrett on the other side. They have Denzel Ward in a really good secondary, and so it's a tough matchup for the Bengals. But if they're a legitimate Super Bowl contender, then they should be able to go to Cleveland and win that game. And so that's where that comes from. So expectations are one thing. Whether or not they deliver, they haven't delivered in September in each of the past 3 years. So we'll see.
What part of the defense are you most concerned about?
Pass rush, still, even with Trey. I think the pass rush was so poor last year outside of what he brought. And even then, his sacks kind of came in bunches. They need this pass rush to be much improved. I do like what I've seen from Shamar Stewart, but we'll see. We'll see how this defense and this defensive front looks when the games start to count here in, 11 days.
Did anybody have a problem with the actual contents of the Trey Hendrickson contract?
A problem with it? No, I think there are a lot of people in town that were disappointed, and Bengals fans, a lot of places disappointed that they didn't get a long-term deal done because this sort of does paint a path for them to break up at the end of the year. And I think a lot of Bengals fans wanted Trey to stay in stripes beyond 2025.
James Rapin, one final question. Do you think that Deshaun Watson will play for the Browns this year?
No, it'll be Shedeur Sanders season long before it'll be Deshaun Watson season.
Okay. James Rapin, Locked On Bengals, as well as Sports Illustrated down in Cincinnati, as we're in the week between the preseason and the start of the 2025 regular season. We now go to Pittsburgh. And Andrew Filipony, 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh, where what the hell is that team doing with 4 quarterbacks on that roster, Andrew? 4.
They don't have 4.
4!
Even the Browns don't have 4.
And the words of Gene Hackman in Hoosiers, have we actually got answers on how Gene Hackman passed?
There's still, actually, I could tell you during the break, it's not pretty.
4! Andrew, answer the question.
Well, it is, they're being tricky about it is what's going on here. They are manipulating some NFL roster rules. Not to get too in the weeds here, but
get in the weeds.
I will do my best to not bore your audience to death, which sometimes that will happen in this segment.
Well, yeah, if you keep talking like that, it's going to bore the hell out of people. So let's get to the point here.
I'm trying to think of a way to articulate it, Ken, without it getting too complicated.
You don't care about articulation. Just go ahead and read what you're going to say. Go ahead. Come on.
Sounds like no confidence in Aaron Rodgers.
Will Howard has been hurt. He has a finger injury that he suffered in training camp. He didn't play at all the preseason. there's a weird rule about IR placement and designated to return and blah, 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 blah. Skylar Thompson played so well in the preseason, significantly better than any of the Browns quarterbacks, and they didn't want to cut him. So what they're doing is they are waiting to place Will Howard on the injured reserve. They'll do that. I don't know how long he'll be out for, if it's 4 weeks, if it's longer. And they're going to carry 3 quarterbacks, Rodgers, Rudolph, and Skylar Thompson to start the year.
Out of those, you still think that Mason Rudolph is the best quarterback?
Well, I never said that. I said I think that Mason Rudolph could be better than Aaron Rodgers because Aaron Rodgers is only 41 years old. And the last time I saw Mason Rudolph in a Steelers uniform, he led the NFL in passer rating and won 3 straight games to get them to the playoffs. I also happen to like Will Howard, and I think the idea, if this is what the Steelers do, if they put him on the IR and it's like a permanent thing where the entire season is a medical redshirt, I believe that's a mistake because I think he needs to get practice reps because, as you pointed out very eloquently all spring, Ken, this is a guy you like, and I know deep down you like Will Howard more than Shedeur Sanders.
Oh, is that true, Kenny?
No, that's not true at all.
No, you said that several times before the draft.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. We can find the tape.
No, I didn't.
Anthony, back me up on that, please.
If there's tape of that, believe you me, I'd like to play it. You're not going to work
me into any shoots here.
Pony, perhaps nobody is a bigger expert on Kenny Pickett than you, Pony. You've been following his entire storied career from really high school levels, and to see how humiliating it is for a team like the Browns to move on from him. What were your thoughts?
Well, I think that's a great word choice. I think it was a humiliating move. I heard what Kevin Stefanski said to you guys in studio about how much they loved Kenny Pickett and everything there was to like about Kenny Pickett. And they were so convinced by what they saw from Shedeur Sanders in the preseason that they thought it was a good idea to just dump the guy on the Raiders for a 5th-round pick. Balderdash, in my opinion. That's a mistake. Kenny Pickett's a better quarterback than Shedeur Sanders. He's got a winning record as an NFL quarterback. He has guided teams to 4th-quarter heroic victories in the NFL.
Heroic?
Yes. Raiders.
Did any of them have in the postseason?
Yeah, real Achilles here.
They kept the Steelers' playoff hopes alive in December, Ken.
Okay.
Yeah.
I forgot you guys haven't won a playoff game, and the Browns have won one more recently over you.
Ken. I'm sorry.
And Myles Garrett is still ranked ahead of T.J. Watt.
Oh, I saw that, Pony.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Ken. Have you done any investigative research on your end as to why Shedeur Sanders looked like he was about to leave the field on Saturday and walked back? What happened?
He wasn't
there?
about to leave the field. He was getting ready to take the field again.
Oh, then why did Tyler Huntley get the last drive?
Because Tyler Huntley was slotted to get the last drive.
So they didn't want to see Shedeur Sanders after playing like dog vomit.
Apparently not. It wasn't my choice, and I was critical of Kevin about that on Monday.
Okay. Right. So let's keep that guy who was sacking himself, and Joe Thomas in the politest way possible was talking about that during Saturday's game. Let's keep that guy over someone that almost won the Heisman Trophy in college and has actually won NFL games. Brilliant.
Yeah, I would rather, because I think they have a brighter future with that guy than they do Kenny Pickett.
Based on what, Ken?
Based on everything I just said, I don't think that Kenny Pickett has any bit of a future in the NFL. Shedeur might have a chance.
You basically hooted and hollered like you were a cheerleader from the movie Varsity Blues after watching Shedeur against Carolina in the first game.
I did the same thing. I did the same thing about Dylan Gabriel after the game against Philadelphia. You're the one who sat there and got all worked up about it.
Pony,
I'm not getting worked up.
Pony,
you're the one that came
You're the one yelling at me on the phone at 8:15 in the morning. I didn't raise my voice at you.
You're not raising your voice right now. I think if we check.
Well, you got me to raise my voice because I'm going to raise my voice back at you when you start yelling at me. Go ahead, Tone.
I was going to ask about Ali Larder, but we can move on. Are you going to be watching ESPN Game Day this Saturday, or are you going to be watching the pregame show for Big Noon Kickoff on Fox? Are you going with Lee Corso, or are you going with the Portnoy situation?
Well, I like McAfee. I'm a Pat guy. I know that's a controversial take for some people. He might be an acquired taste.
You're going to be on Barrett Sports Media. Congratulations.
Oh, boy.
Why is that?
Because you say controversial takes. I don't know.
You think Barrett Seawright's listening right now?
His name's Garrett, not Barrett.
Potentially, if you start talking about the third hour of Mulligan Stew.
Hey, do you think Deshaun?
Do I think what? What, Ken?
Mulligan Stew.
I forgot what they called it. What is it called?
Talk soup.
Talk soup.
It's called lateral hazard.
Lateral hazard. That's it. They added a third hour.
Do you think that it could add 5 hours?
Breakfast
Who cares?
ball.
Do you think that Deshaun Watson will play for the Browns this year?
That's under consideration right now.
I'm asking you a question, smartass. Just answer it, all
Ken,
right?
I'm not Dr. Chow. I don't know what I didn't know that his Achilles injury was one that was even going to allow him to play.
Yes or no is the answer.
He's doing somersaults.
Yes or no?
I've already seen videos.
I'm going to say no. I don't think they want him anywhere near this team.
He's practicing Cirque
Anywhere
du
near the
Soleil as I
team.
say this right now.
The owner went to his wedding.
What?
Yeah, Jimmy Haslam was front and center at his wedding.
Cody's reaction.
I think they did a
my
dance.
God.
I think he got to dance with the bride.
They can't let him play this year. Can they?
They can do a lot of
Wow.
things. They're a professional football team.
In theory, or I guess technically, yes. All right.
Sorry,
yeah.
who has the latest playoff win?
Hit him.
Who has the latest playoff
Hit
win?
him.
I'm sorry, Ken.
Who
Why
has
do you
the better
defend?
ranked pass rusher?
Put on
Who
the
has the
scoreboard.
better ranked pass rusher? Say it.
Put
Say
on
it
the
now.
scoreboard
Say
right
it to
now.
the people of Cleveland who the better pass rusher is. By every metric out there, who's better? Who's better?
By metrics?
Who's better?
By rank? Whose rankings
Why
are
does
we
he
talking
keep
about?
asking
Who's
follow-up?
better? Who's better? Say it now. Say it. Admit it
2025
to
or
everybody.
22 or 21?
Who's better? Say it now. Admit it to everybody.
Football and basketball?
Say it now.
Baseball?
Say it.
2 dimensions? 3 dimensions?
Stop laughing and say it. Say it.
I'm not going to say it.
Because you know the truth. That's why you don't want to say it. Listen to him.
Goodbye.
Yeah, see you in hell. Andrew
He
Filiponi.
knows it'll be used against him. They'll play that all day.
3 no's, by the way, on Deshaun Watson.
Ilken and
From around the
Baraso
AFC
will
North.
play that all day. Are they on camera yet? Are they on YouTube?
Did we tell the Ilken and Baraso story on the air yet?
I don't think we have.
All right, I'm going to tell you guys the Ilken and Baraso story. It'll probably get us let go. And it was an innocent typo from Mary Kay, but it got Lima and I thinking, could Donovan Mitchell actually do this? Not tell the Ilken and Baraso story. It's coming up in 5 minutes on the Fan. Daisy Dip.
1367 Canton Road near the intersection of Route 224.
Hey everybody, it's Andy Baskin from Baskin and Phelps. Ed Kelce, the father of the groom, and of course, future father-in-law of Taylor Swift. We'll talk about the American royal wedding everyone's talking about coming up Wednesday morning at 11 o'clock on Baskin and Phelps.
Baskin and Phelps, weekday morning starting at 10. 92.3 The Fan.
Do you think that Deshaun Watson will play for the Browns this year?
No. Strong no. Get him out.
No, it'll be Shedeur Sanders season long before it'll be Deshaun Watson season.
That's under consideration right now?
I'm asking you a question, smartass. Just answer it, all right?
I'm not Dr. Chow. I don't know that his Achilles injury was one that was even going to allow him to play
Yes
this year.
or no is the answer.
He's doing somersaults.
Yes or no?
I've already seen videos.
They can't let him play this year. Can they?
That's around the AFC North. I like to ask one question to each of them, and that was the question I asked to each of them because we had Albert Breer on yesterday on Afternoon Drive, and the guys asked Albert Breer about it. Albert Breer said, yeah, it's he's like, I told you last week. So I think they might ask him every single week until he finally tells them no.
I do think so. I do, but I love it. I love it. Keep asking.
Here's Breer yesterday on Afternoon Drive about Deshaun.
People have talked to me about this in very vague terms, so please take it that way. I think Watson's going to be cleared in October and November. I think it's going to be at some point in that, general time range. So you're talking about, middle of the season somewhere. He's going to be available, and then, you're probably going to come to a point where you got to put him on your 53-man roster. That means walking away from a player. Is that player one of the quarterbacks we'll see? Trading pick it now sort of gets you ahead of that problem a little bit, where there's just no way you're going to carry 5 quarterbacks on your roster. So now your whole, 4 quarterback conundrum is solved for now and probably solved for later because you did feel comfortable and you had accounted for the idea that you were going to have 4 quarterbacks to begin with. And look, I think the whole piece of it about what this means as far as those guys playing, it certainly creates a clearer path for them to play. But I think the equation is still the same.
That's Albert Breer on with Afternoon Drive yesterday talking about Deshaun Watson. By the way, the Ilken and Baraso story. Lyman and I went golfing one time, got smashed. This was not too terribly long ago. And Pony's old producer is now the boss at 93.7. And Lyman and I got smashed and decided to call and harass. They were going through some changes there, and we decided to call and harass Andrew's boss. We first called his new producer, which is Donnie Football. Mm-hmm. Donnie had no idea what was going on. No. He just thought it was some psycho who kept screaming at him. Basically, we were if you ever saw the Seinfeld episode where the guys from Houston meet the Yankees and they're on the plane saying we're 30,000 feet above your head, you bastard. That's what Lyman and I looked like that day. And so we're smashed, and we call, and Lyman's going, "Put on Ilken and Baraso, you cowards! Tom Barasso, Tunch Ilken."
Perfect show for Pittsburgh.
There's this pause, and Craig goes, "Tunch Ilken passed away, you guys." "Doesn't matter. Get him on the air right now. You ain't got the sack."
So wait, you got to tell him the second part of this where we added Andrew Hody to the prank. When we had Hody, who did we have him call?
We had him called for Ilken and Barasso.
He called all of them over there. I'm pretty sure he called
Hody,
everyone at 93.7.
Was he trying to book Ilken and Barasso?
We
or what
told
was
him
he
to
doing?
get him on by the end of the show.
We wanted Ilken and Barasso on by the end of the show.
And every break he came into the studio, and you just asked him, "Did you get him on yet?"
Tunch Ilken was actually a really, really, really good color analyst. But there you go. So that was the Ilken and Barasso story. And Jack Daniels story. Anywho, just real quick on Deshaun. That's where it's, the whole quarterback thing, I think you go from Joe, where it's okay, hell of a hand, veteran. I think that a lot of people just have a lot of respect for Joe. Then you get the Dylan Gabriel. I think there's this, for people who hate the media in this town, who think the media is wrong about everything, Dylan Gabriel's becoming their guy. Right. Because Darryl said nothing but bad things about him as a quarterback. Zach the same way. Lance Risen, who's a football coach, Lance Risland said some nice things about him.
He found some positives.
Yeah, but you had Daryl saying the ball boys were ahead of him on his depth chart. I mean, that's the truth's the truth.
Well, he's now past the ball boys.
And so now when Dylan Gabriel,
this has been
number 2 on the depth chart.
Yeah. He has passed him up.
So when you have him number 2 on the depth chart, I think people want to see him. I don't care what anybody says. You can sit there and say that you hate Shedeur all the way down and every day on, including Sunday, it doesn't matter. You guys are still curious. The 4th guy on that list, Deshaun Watson, will make people tune out. You're just going to go do other things. Not
even a car crash. Not even people wanting to see a car crash at this point.
No, I think that the majority of the fans in Cleveland are just like, nope, don't even care, because they don't want him to be a part of the future. They don't think he's going to be a part of the future. Now he has every right to work, but they don't want to see him. And frankly, I don't blame him. He's a reminder of a ugly past for this football team that was only good when somebody else was playing the position. The fans are ready to move forward, either with the rookies or to the next guys who are going to be rookies, either with Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry or without Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry. To be honest with you, I think a lot of fans are like, hey, either you guys figure it out or you don't. We're moving forward. Like, I think a lot of fans want to go forward. That's a look in the past. I mean, good God. I mean, you got people like, wait until June 1st, wait until June 1st, wait until June 1st. They are ready to go into the future here with this football team, and he is just a look at a bad past of what could have been and what wasn't because egos got involved. On all sides, by the way. And they're just ready to go forward. I think they're Browns fans. They want to be Browns fans, and he's just a reminder of it never was. And so if he goes out there and he plays well, I don't think it's going to make a damn bit of difference to anybody involved. I don't think he wants to be here. I don't think that.
It's hard for anybody to move on. I think it's hard for anybody to even consider him playing or even mentally think of a scenario where he plays well now after another injury, after all this time off.
But it's amazing.
All the stuff in his head.
Like, you hear the outsiders and they're like, what? This is not even a consideration. And we're over here going, oh, God, what if he does play? And again, you have Albert Breer, who's an insider but an outsider, saying like, yeah, I mean, he could come back in November and you might have a decision that you have to make depending on how the young guys play or whether or not Joe's still playing. If Joe's still playing, that means we're doing 7 in heaven again. So
we'll see where that goes. I know we're moving on. Is Deshaun Watson going to make this an issue? Is he going to continually put out videos and is he going to start podcasting again and telling people that he's feeling the best he's ever felt?
He has every single right to do it. He has every single right. I'm not going to deny him his right to work. That's not going to happen. If he wants to go and still be a quarterback, if somebody wants to pick him up, we've been through all this. He is free to work in this country and be a quarterback. If somebody's willing to pick him up, you go right on ahead and do it. I just think it's better for all parties involved, including him and everybody near and dear to him, to move on without each other. The Browns move in their separate direction with a new quarterback and a new look on things and a future that includes, the stadium in Brook Park more than likely. And Deshaun Watson moves on to whatever he's going to move on to. That's where I think that ends. Mary Kay had a typo yesterday. She wrote Donovan Mitchell instead of Donovan McMillan. Donovan Mitchell actually tweeted about it. So she was talking about the guys who made the team. And Donovan McMillan, who is from Pitt, by the way, Donovan McMillan has made the initial 53-man roster. Mary Kay had accidentally, and I think it was probably her phone autocorrected more than likely to Donovan Mitchell.
Oh, she probably texted about him.
And she probably has. And it said safety Donovan Mitchell, and Donovan had wrote, let's get it at Browns. So it got us thinking, could Donovan actually play for the Browns?
And I've said that he absolutely is somebody that could fit into a prototype of a football player.
Yep.
There's a few positions I had in mind.
Yep.
I think there's one a lot of people have in mind, but between his athleticism, his explosiveness, his hands. Guys, his hands, when you see a guy, there's only a handful of guys in the league that can scale up on the basketball floor and snatch a rebound with one hand and have that ball stick glued to his hand on the way down.
I assume he has massive hands.
His hands would be amazing in the NFL.
Well, this is where I got a little confused because it says safety Donovan Mitchell, not safety Donovan McMillan. I'm like, I'd put him in safety. Well, he's 6'3".
Right.
So he plays in a land of giants, but he's smaller. And you said wide receiver, and I said, I find it hard. And Owen's like, stop talking about this. Let's just bring it to the air.
We already brought it up when we were talking about the Max Strus injury. You brought up, well, they've got this small guard backcourt, right? And whenever we talk about them, we always say they're so small.
And in the NBA,
in the
NFL,
they are small.
In the NFL, he would be one of the bigger guys. You're right. Owen had said that. And then I thought, okay, defensively, I think he could be one of those guys. He could stay glued to any, a lot of the wide receivers, whatever. And plus, he's physical. I don't think people realize that. A lot of NBA players you don't associate with physicality. He is a guy that delivers blows. He's good with footwork, even in one arm stretched out. He's still navigating and absorbing contact. But why couldn't he be a running back? Why could he? Have you seen his thighs?
I think
his balance,
I think he's capable of more. I think he's capable of more.
His twitch.
I mean, it's 6'3". Do you really need a 6'3"? I mean, there's been 6'3" running backs.
I brought up Beanie Wells. Beanie Wells was that. I don't know how
I'd
fast.
like a 6'3" wide receiver.
I don't know his 40 time. I know, though, that in confined spaces, that guy's footwork, you never know about vision and just instincts, but you don't think some of those instincts would carry over?
Is there anybody who disagrees that Donovan Mitchell could play football for the Cleveland Browns or in the NFL? 216-474-0092. That and leadership from Miles? Yeah, it's happening, at least with one player, Ken Carman, Anthony Lima. That's up in 5 minutes on The Fan.
This is Joe Checkeye for 92.3 The Fan.
Don't draft anybody until you hear from our team. The radio home of the NFL in Cleveland. 92.3 The Fan.
Who had the better chance? You were playing in the NFL or Lamar Jackson playing in the NBA?
Are we playing each other positions? Like, am I quarterback?
No. We're back in high school. A young Donovan Mitchell says, I'm going to focus on football, and a young Lamar Jackson says, I'm going to focus on basketball. Who has a better chance of making it into the NBA or NFL?
I would say probably me making it to it.
That's the New Heights podcast. I think, see, it was weird because you mentioned wide receiver for Donovan Mitchell. And I was like, no, because I forget he's 6'3", he just plays in a land of 7-foot guys. 6'11" versus 6'3".
He's probably
I feel like he's 5'10".
I think, until
we realize he's 6'3".
Yeah,
he would look like a monster. I'll never forget.
He would. He'd be a monster out
there. Was it USC? I always loved some of the college guys back in the day that like looked the part and like they're going to be amazing in the NFL, and then they don't end up being amazing. But like Taylor Mays.
Yep.
Wasn't Taylor Mays like a 6'3" defensive back?
Some would say he was tailor-made.
Get out of here. Get the hell out of here.
I was more of a king cobra myself.
I'm done with all this.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Sad.
Because you always used to remind when we had an argument one time, and it was when Steph Curry threw his mouthpiece. We had a bunch of callers, and they all were like, I'll fight Steph Curry. And it was a bunch of like Kens and Parma. Like guys are looking like me, I'll kick Steph Curry's ass. And Lima got annoyed. He's like, he like squats like 600 pounds and he's 6'4", right? He just looks small because he's in a land of giants. And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Because Steph Curry looks at that time. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of respect for him now. I mean, that's all in the past. But at that time, it's like he had a punchable face for a lot of fans. And especially for Cleveland fans. And because, you're on LeBron's side and LeBron is the Zeus of Zeuses, you think that Steph Curry is just this little twerp. And you think, no, he would tower over a lot of us and would definitely beat the brakes off a lot of us in a physical altercation. But we don't think about it that way. And it's the same thing I thought with Donovan Mitchell. Like, he can't be a wide receiver. No, he would absolutely be a wide receiver. His hands are probably, I would think he probably has a 10-inch hand.
His hands have got to be big.
Yes. I think he would probably be able to catch anything over the middle.
But not running back. You don't think running back for somebody like him, you see the way he navigates the lane, is able to, bounce from one aspect
Running
to the
back?
other. Yeah.
I just think it's weird. I just think his talents would be wasted.
Oh.
I think like a ball hawking safety, corner, wide receiver, I think that would be better for him.
I have his hand size.
What is it?
Which they measured at the combine. It is hand width is 9.5 inches.
That's it?
Yeah. Hand length, only 8.5 inches.
That's like our hand, or that's like mine and Keith's hand. Keith has the biggest hands of the station. I have the second biggest hands.
But it tells you just how good you can see it. You
Yeah.
can see when he's tracking basketballs down. And then obviously, I don't know, hand-eye coordination. How much does hand-eye coordination mean in any position except wide receiver, right? That would be the big one.
But he would definitely be able to be skilled, and I think that he'd be great with any of those. 216-474-0092. All right, I want to play this because we've been trying to get to it all day. Aiden Huntington was in media availability yesterday. People love hearing about this new guy. And do we dare talk about the L word when it comes to Myles Garrett?
In the summer, I went out there with Myles. I trained with Myles a little bit, was out there with Micah Parsons, Will Anderson. Just seeing myself getting out there and getting out of my comfort zone, being with those guys, training, seeing how athletically I stack up, mentally, and just seeing, and it was a lot of competition. I told myself before I came out here, Aiden, you was out there with those guys, you trained with those guys, you know your abilities, you know what God gave you to do. So just go out here and just trust the abilities he gave me and just have fun.
You see the Brian Baldinger breakdown of him, and you're like, where were the other teams? How did he get to the Browns as an undrafted guy? How does he end up with the Browns? Like that's that's an Eagles pickup. Like, oh, they found this guy, and it's just Howie Roseman's an embarrassment of riches. Now we haven't played an actual game yet, but he looks amazing. And the thought about Myles. Myles ain't a bad guy. I ain't never going to accuse him of being a leader, but this is one of those flirtations with it. Like, okay, you take a guy, he's got some talent, because he ain't going to let you or I work out with him. He's going to let a guy who's on his football team work out with him. And so do you put that in the leadership category?
Well, this is what I love, though, because, again, this is how the pendulum swings, where if we ask, Myles Garrett, leader, 216-474, okay, we get flooded with calls, and guys either don't care if he's a leader or they'll say he's not a leader. And it's like, do you think that if people genuinely are asking Myles Garrett, like rookies that are, hey, is this move too obvious? Am I giving things away? What can I do with my hips here? What do you think Myles is going to be like? Figure it out yourself, kid, and then go in the other direction?
But this was not that.
He's going to help guys.
This was not that. And this is also not, hey, let's all go to Atlantis for a week, and I'm going to take everybody out there, and we're gonna foot it on the same bill. And I know exactly who I'm comparing it to.
I was about to say, who are you talking about there?
But I'm just saying, or let's go to South Beach for 5 days and hang out together. This is not that. This was Myles told him, and Aiden tells a longer story. And it was a 14-minute press conference with him yesterday, and you got to go listen to the thing if you haven't heard it. It's one of the most encouraging press conferences I've heard in a long time from a Browns player. I was amazed by the things that I heard from him. But he said he went up to Myles after minicamp and talked to him, and Myles gave him his number, and he was kind of afraid to text him because he's like, he didn't have my number saved and all that. Myles told him, come down to Dallas, see what's up. He basically told him on a whim, come down there. Myles also told him, if there's a more veteran guy there that needs a room, I'm going to give that guy the room. You're going to have to, figure out your own accommodations. But this was more than just him saying, let's go hang out together in South Beach for a week. He brought him into Dallas for 3 weeks. He stayed at his house with him in Dallas. They trained with Micah Parsons. He listed a bunch of other guys. Alex Wright was there too. I mean, that to me is a guy that's taking on a leadership role that we might not see every day. And had Aiden not told that story, we wouldn't know anything about it.
Myles, because it's not. There's no video team in place.
Right.
There's no production company that's involved.
This is not a look at me, I'm a leader thing. And that's what I've wanted out of Myles every time we bring it up. I don't need him to tell me he's a leader. I need him to show me that he's a leader.
That's a great point.
I think that is a really good point there. I mean, if it's just Micah and Myles, I mean, you're already in a who's who there. I mean, these are top 3 defensive players in all the NFL, for crying out loud. So that's already in good company. But Alex Wright, who's had an outstanding camp as well. So you
took that kid, a undrafted free agent who went from Kent to Louisiana Monroe to Tulane, and went, I don't know if I belong with these guys. He went down there for 3 weeks and went, yeah, I belong. Right? Gave him the confidence that when he came back to training camp, he was going to make this roster. And that's a guy that You've already proven to him he belongs in the NFL now. He's proven to himself he belongs in the NFL. What are we going to see from him on the field? I hope it translates on the field.
It is a weird, you're right about that, because it's a weird moving target when it comes to Miles. Like, there's only been one time in a game where I felt that he quit, and that was that Dolphins game, I want to say in 2021 or 2022, where I felt that he was, I felt the second half of that game, I felt he was just going through the motions. He was sick about what was going on, and he was frustrated. That's the only game I've ever been able to accuse him of saying, like, hey, man, you didn't do what you were supposed to do. It's a weird thing with him because he's not going to give the rah-rah speech, and I don't believe he's going to give the rah-rah speech. And then when you have a guy like Aiden Huntington there, that's a really great move to do. But also where you have the Jason Lloyd article, where I'm not going to sit there and say Jason Lloyd's lying, because he wasn't lying. When you're talking about being late and kind of doing your own thing, and when they had the one holiday, he decided to leave early, even though that everybody else was at the building.
It's one that came out at the end of the year.
Like, that's one of those things that play with it.
You know, and we get a little bogged down. I think we do. Sorry to cut you off. We get a little bogged down on this binary leader. Yes, no. Like, obviously, there's going to be a lot of nuance there, But
I wish there was more consistency.
Sure, absolutely. And maybe this is some of what Jimmy Haslam was asking for when he went out of his way to bring it up almost unprovoked. Joe Thomas, when the Browns were losing games, I remember there would be people.
They were mad because he had the Wednesday day off.
He'd have the Wednesday day off. But we'd look at that and it'd be like, that guy's not a leader because of the Wednesdays. Doesn't he have to lead by example? And it's like, yeah, but what if on Wednesdays he's there working with every single offensive, or the other days working with every single offensive lineman and stuff you never see?
We also found out later he was playing through PCL tears, and so it's, if you're a guy on the team and Joe's battling through that type of stuff, are you not looking at that as a form of leadership too? Of like, if he's doing it, I've got to do it.
And you know what? I know we got to go. It's fascinating, Kenny, the 14th straight reference, 14th day with a reference of the Dallas Cowboys documentary. Mm-hmm. I know you're going to get to it. You're going to finish it all.
The coach chair that they talked about yesterday.
Okay, that was good.
The cuck chair.
That was good. But I do want to say, like, it's so funny. Like, Jimmy Johnson, when he was the coach, without a doubt, he's ruling with an iron fist. He's cutting guys. He's deciding everything. He is riding those players, even the egomaniacs of the Cowboys. Well, Barry Switzer takes over, and it is a different shop. Okay, he did things a very different way, and so Troy Aikman became the leader. He could not be a passive guy. Troy Aikman became Jimmy Johnson, which is so interesting. And then, you know what? They won a Super Bowl. They ended up winning a Super Bowl. They were so talented that Barry Switzer got no credit for it, but maybe at that time, that year, with the aging veterans, they couldn't grind it out in every single practice. They couldn't be that way. So it is funny, like, we in our minds have this, there's only one style of leadership. It's like, there's plenty of different ways to do this stuff.
Phil Steele going to join us at 9:21. We'll preview Ohio State and Texas. Who really has the edge? Arch Manning, who's thrown barely any passes in college football, is he already that much better than Julian Sand? Can we claim that? Well, Phil Steele is going to join us at 9:21. He'll give you the real straight dope on all that from the Phil Steele's college football preview. And I took the over on the Browns. There's people who flat out disagree with me, and they also want me to be wrong. That's what type of situation the Browns are in. Ken Carman, Anthony Lyman, too much pressure on Parker Messick. It's coming up on The Fan. Friends, Ken Carman here.
sharpness. Want to catch highlights from The Fan from earlier today? Get over to 923thefan.com or favorite The Fan on the Odyssey app for all of today's headline segments. Headline sports news every 20 minutes on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Anthony Allant.
In your weeknight with the best segments of the day. The Fan Rewind. Weeknights at 11.
Want to update everybody on the poll. We got Phil Steele coming up at 9:21, but let me update you here. Now, we're still very, very, very early in this poll. Would you be open to Deshaun Watson starting another game for the Browns this season? So far, early returns, Stark County in, Trumbull County rolling in, 88.1% say no. 88.1% say no. That is a lot. Okay, well, it's early.
I imagine
it's early.
What do you think the split is with the Shedeur Sanders fans? Shedeur first.
Should I just open up the phones? 216-474-0092. What would you do? Or would you be open to him playing? Would you be upset? What would you do? Because I've said I go. They will turn the TV off. They will not come.
And obviously,
there will be people come to the Browns games, but they're not gonna.
I will say this: isn't your season obviously in disarray?
Oh, clearly.
If Watson were to play,
yes.
So, would there be any curiosity? Be like, all right, well, we saw this group with Flacco. Let's say he got injured. I'm just coming up with a formula, or maybe it was 4 games and out. Okay, then they went to Dylan Gabriel, and maybe let's just say that his body, he just couldn't take the contact, and then he's out. All right, Shedeur tries it. Let's just say not ready still. Maybe he needed to sit out the whole year.
No, don't say that.
And then they're like, all right, well, I'm just giving you a crazy scenario, and their record could, maybe they're sitting on 1 win or something at that point. Okay. And they're like, well, Deshaun's getting paid. He's ready to go. The players' union's going to have a problem if we don't put him out there or whatever. I don't know. I'm just coming up with a ridiculous formula. And then he goes out there and plays, or we know he's going to play. Are fans going to be like, well, okay, I'm just not watching this? Probably. I think a lot would. But wouldn't there also be a morbid curiosity? All right, we've seen 3 guys, and then Kevin Stefanski,
I don't.
Remember, his reputation's on the line at some point.
I don't. I think that there's a curiosity about Shedeur and certainly Dylan Gabriel. Certainly Shedeur and Dylan Gabriel. And Joe Flacco, I don't think there is for Deshaun Watson. Anthony, you know it and I know it. We know by the interest in the shows over these last 3 years. I mean, call it what it is. You guys don't want to see him. When things had a chance to look okay, there was like a little flicker of people who kind of wanted to get in on it. When the wheels came off, no. You don't like talking about him. You don't care for him.
Kenny, I also know how fickle
there's no other
fans
way I can say it.
How it can just take a couple of first downs.
And I'm going to tell you right now.
A couple of scoring drives.
They're all fickle, and they're all going to say,
couple of scrambles.
We ain't going to get fooled again. They're going to talk themselves into, and probably rightfully so, they're going to talk themselves into all those quarterbacks I talked about. They're already getting ready for Cade Klubnik versus Garrett Nussmeier. They're already getting ready for Drew Aller versus Julian Saint, even though Julian Saint ain't coming out. But you get what I'm pointing at. That's what they're getting ready for.
Again. Who's he fooled? He didn't even have... he had half a football against Baltimore.
They're not going to go, well, he counts it so much against the cap if we let him go. We can't let him go. No, they're not going to do that. They're going to go, that's your guys' fault, not ours. They don't want to see him again. And frankly, I don't think it's my own personal opinion, he don't want to be here. The only reason he wants to be here this year is so maybe he gets the chance to put something on tape to show somebody else so he can continue to get his guaranteed money. Stop looking at the YouTube chat. And then he can go ahead and he can collect his money and play somewhere else and then stick it to all of us that he still has it or whatever. He don't want to be here. And the fans don't want him out there. Shedeur Sanders every day, all day, every single possible way before him. Same with Dylan, same with Joe. Call Kenny Pickett back. Somebody wrote P.J. Walker, sign him.
Oh, yes.
They'd rather see Tyler Huntley come back. But the Browns, we have to always be careful in certain senses. The Browns have to be really careful because there is a players' union here, and you can't just deny him the right to be with the team. You can't do the play now thing and say that you're not welcome in the building. He has the right to be there, Go ahead and give him the right to be there. That's fine. And I don't think, by the way, he's sitting there wringing his hands like an evil villain and putting in bad ideas for Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. I don't think that, because I know that there has definitely got to be language in that contract about being able to get out of that contract due to player conduct or due to actions detrimental to the team. He knows that. So what he's going to do, he's going to be at every single thing he's supposed to be at.
That's what
he's going to be a good teammate. He's going to go through that. He's going to be a good teammate and be a good guy with this football team until the bitter end, and that's the way it's going to be. And on the Browns end of things, they're going to say good things about him, and they're going to say how hard he's working, and maybe they will put him out there on the field. Maybe they're going to do it. But I don't think they're going to do it.
Like, is he going to be in quarterback meetings? Is he going to be out there trying to answer questions for the young rookies and work with them? Like, what is this going to look like?
He's going to do everything he can to look like he should be a guy that's picked up by another team in 2026. How old is he? Is he 30? Is he 30?
He's got to be right around, right?
He might still be 29.
He's 29.
He's 29 years old. When's he turn 30, Mitch?
On September 14th.
So he turns 30. He turns 30 this season, right? Next month. So he turns 30 in less than a month. He's 30 years old. He'll be 31 years old. I mean, the way he's looking at it, he probably still thinks he has 10 years left to go in this league if he really wants it. But if he goes out there and he shows his ass and acts like a goof, then he doesn't get his money because they can try to void that. And then he ain't going to get picked up by anybody else because they ain't going to want the problems. So he can go and do all the right things, and then we can split this because I don't care about his money. It ain't my money. And the Browns, hey, you got money falling out of your pockets. Pay them. You took the hit. It's the way it went. It's a bad chapter in the history. We try to move forward. That's the way this goes. That's the best case. I thought last year at the like in January and stuff when he got hurt again. I go, okay, this is injury settlement time. This is all. And hey, they may be. You may get to after the first month of the season. They go, it's not going the way we thought it was going to go, and we're going to have to put him on IR, and then that's going to be the end of it. Okay. But at the same point, he's going to think, you know what? I don't want my career to end like this, and he may not be agreeable to something like that. So there might be second opinions and all the other stuff that gets into it. Now, that's all pure speculation. But I know, hey, man, what the Browns may want and what he may want is going to be different from the fans because I don't think this poll is going to change anytime soon.
No.
I think it's going to be so drastically against him playing.
Well, and if any of these guys actually play well, it'll just get to 100%.
Oh, well, if any of these guys play well, you ain't got to worry about it. Because then you could absolutely look everybody dead in the eye and go, Dillon Gabriel, Shedeur, Joe Flacco, et cetera, give us a better chance to win than we believe that the quarterback coming back with the injury. We are working because if you're Kevin Stefanski, say, God forbid, say you're 9 and whatever and Joe Flacco goes down. In a fantasy here. Say you have a good record and Joe goes down. And Deshaun's an active quarterback now. And you can go, we have a system here. These guys have learned this system. It's a different system than what Deshaun's been running over the last couple of years. We feel more comfortable right now. Because if I was sitting there talking about talent, who do I think is the more naturally talented quarterback? Is it Shedeur Sanders or is it Dillon Gabriel? Answer that.
Yeah, I thought Shedeur.
Okay, so who's the more naturally talented quarterback out of the three? Is it Shedeur Sanders, Dillon Gabriel, or Deshaun Watson?
Well, you know me.
You're going to say Deshaun Watson.
I thought Deshaun was a top 5 quarterback at one point.
And you know what? I have to agree with you and say Deshaun Watson.
He's looked like a bottom.
That's not what I want to say. It's what I have to say because it's the truth, Tone. So you know what I say then to that if I'm Kevin Stefanski? He may be the more talented. Is he the most ready to help us win? Because that's the same damn argument I gave everybody when it came to Deshaun Kaiser. He may be the most talented quarterback in that room. He ain't the most ready to win, and he sure as hell wasn't. Now, there were other factors there, but he wasn't the most ready to win. And you could look at it and go, Dillon Gabriel has practiced with this team. He's got the reps now. We are ready to go with Dillon. He knows the offensive system. We can't go changing around our offense. It's irresponsible to the rest of our football team. We're going to roll with Dillon. We're going to see where it's going to go. And then if Dillon goes out there and flops, you got another set of questions you have to answer there, but you can at least stave it off for a little while. Because, again, you do have veterans that you have to answer to, and if Dillon's out there and he looks like he does not know what he's doing and he's afraid, well, then you're going to have guys going, hey, get this out of here. Come on. We wanted to make the playoffs. Let's go. It ain't going to be perfect, but that's the way you can see it. But everybody's got to be nice to each other here. Everybody's got to be kumbaya between the Browns and him. He wants his money. He's got to be nice. They don't want to have to pay the fiddler on that because, remember, he has the most powerful agent in the NFL. And if they don't want to be beholden to that with other clients that he has, because, again, he's the most powerful agent in the NFL, everybody's got to be nice.
They're all playing the game.
216-474-0092. Greg and Kent, you're next up on the Fan.
Anthony, Ken, what's going on, guys?
Hi, Greg. Not much. Go right on ahead. Got Phil Steele at 920.
Hey, if we go off the rails, say we're 1-9, I'm all about putting Deshaun in.
Ooh.
I hope he rips off. He's going to come in, just rip off a bunch of wins, win out the season, and then we can just trade his ass. Trade him, get whatever we can get that contract out of here, and then we can start a rebuild. That's what if we're at 1-9, that's what I hope happens. Thank you, guys.
You know, Greg, I tell you, that's a hell of a thing, because if he goes out there and he plays that well for this football team and they finish with a decent enough record, would even I kick around keeping him around?
Ooh.
I got Myles Garrett. I got Denzel. I got veterans on that team. Am I ready for a complete rebuild? Of course, when am I going to see a draft class like this again with rookies? Dave in Akron, you're next up on the Fan.
Morning, guys. How you doing?
Doing well, Dave. Go right on ahead.
So, honestly, if the season ends up tanking, and let's pretend that our offensive line is like paper thin, if it's like a game of attrition and we're putting out rookies that just kind of get banged up versus Deshaun Watson and he just takes hits every day, make him earn his money. Honestly, that's the only reason I'd like to see him, is if we're going to end up hurting Shedeur or hurting Dylan Gabriel, put him out there, earn the money. That's how I feel about it.
You know, Dave, that's a hell of a thought, but I don't want to look at it that way, because I say a hell of a thought because it's an interesting thought, not because I want it that way, because I don't want to use the guy as a tackling dummy. I don't want to use any of the quarterbacks as a tackling dummy. When I put Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders out there, I want to see what they got. I want to see if I can keep them around. I want to see if they can compete for the job next year or compete for the job down the line, or I can turn them into a tradable commodity down the line. I mean, good God, if you do take Shedeur Sanders and turn him into a fourth-round pick, okay, that's a win. If I take Dylan Gabriel and I turn him into any modicum of a pick, considering I think he was overdrafted, I think that was a win. I think Dylan Gabriel could probably have a 7 or 8 year career as a backup in this league, probably against Colt McCoy. If I could turn them, that might be maybe not a win, but something that's better for it. I mean, I can use the quarterbacks as currency. As Andrew Barry has said before, quarterbacks are currency in this league. But I would rather put them out there. I don't want to put them out there just because, they're going to get beat up and that's going to be the end of it. I don't wish that on anybody. Coming up next, Phil Steele. Phil Steele's college football preview. Ohio State, Texas. Are we overrating Arch Manning? One big game against Louisiana Tech, all of a sudden he's the next thing? Are we overrating him? Phil Steele's going to answer that question. Coming up in 5 on the Fan.
Anthony Lima for Diamonds Direct at the corner of Richmond and Cedar Row, where the one thing I love about Diamonds Direct is that every single person that walks through the doors going to be treated like a VIP. And they do it time and time again. Don and everybody over there, they are awesome. And of course, they're diamonds that are incredible. They sparkle. They come straight from the source. So what does that do to the price? It means you don't have to pay top dollar for some of the top inventory.
Jordan Poyer is going back to Buffalo. Jordan Schultz is reporting the All-Pro safety goes back to the Bills for year 8 with the team after 1 year in Miami. Headline sports news every 20 minutes on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Anthony Allant.
Ohio State, Texas, big news Saturday. If you're wondering about Dave Portnoy, I can't ask this guy this question because he don't care. He cares about the football. At Phil Steele 4042 on Twitter.
If anything, Phil Steele should be on one of these shows.
Boy, that's a hell of a thing. He's appearing on the fan hotline. The great Phil Steele joins us. Local guy, by the way. Local. Who'd have thought that the guru of college football is based in the cradle of professional football in Northeast Ohio? But here's Phil. Hello, Phil.
Hey, how you guys doing this morning?
We're doing wonderful. We hope you're doing the same. First, let me ask, how hard has it been over these last couple of years with NIL, the spring portal, the fall portal, and everything to kind of get it right and to get everything ready for your preview?
Well, I tell you, it makes the last month and a half of the magazine a lot more difficult with that second spring portal. And in fact, what's really interesting this year was the amount of players that entered or signed with the team in the winter and then left after spring was over, and then trying to cram in 136 coaches' calls all in the month of May after the second spring portal closes at the end of April makes it really tough because the calls last about an hour apiece. I go over every player on the team, every position with the coaches, and it's made it a lot more difficult, I'll tell you that much. I like the coaches both want a single portal. Let's do that this year.
Wouldn't that be great if they call it the Phil Steele rule and everybody comes to understanding like this magazine needs to take priority, needs to take precedent.
I hate the second portal, Phil. I'm with you. The Ohio State, Texas coming up on Saturday. I think some people are saying some hot take stuff about Arch Manning. I think he's going to end up being a really good prospect. Obviously, we don't know about his future, the draft, coming back, this, that, and the other. Who would you give the edge in this game to? Because you got a lot of returning guys from Texas, even though the wide receiver room is new. Ohio State, you still have Jeremiah Smith. Who do you like?
Well, I like Texas's defense. I think I rate Texas's defense number one in the country, led by Anthony Hill at linebacker. They are absolutely loaded across the board. Now, if you have a question mark with Texas, it's the offensive line. They lose 4 starters off the O-line. And you mentioned Arch Manning. For Arch Manning to live up to his hype, he'd have to have like 60 touchdown passes, 2 interceptions this year. That's not going to happen, but he should be one of the better quarterbacks. But, can you hit it on the head? He lost his top 3 receivers from last year. I like the replacements, DeAndre Moore, Ryan Wingo. But offensively, I'm going to give the edge to Ohio State. So offense, Ohio State, defense goes to Texas. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game, a defensive battle, because you've got 2 young quarterbacks going against 2 really good defenses. So I'm looking for a low-scoring game here. The total 48. I like the under in this one.
I like it, too, because, this is a weird game where there's no looking over opponent, and I think it's much easier for a team that's coming off a national championship to turn right around and get ready for their season against a top-notch team like Texas. I don't think there's any sort of... I don't think there's any sort of overlooking. I don't think there's going to be much sloppiness as opposed to where it would be with a different opponent.
Yeah, I agree. And, the amazing thing here, you got 26 players off last year's matchup gone to the NFL. That's a ridiculous amount of players from 2 teams going. So I think it's going to be a great game. But the bottom line is, no matter who loses this game, it's really not going to affect them. I think both teams will easily make the playoffs this year.
So when you talked to Ryan Day, did you get a vibe about Julian saying, obviously there was a, quote, quarterback competition, but at the same time, most in Columbus that were there reporting on the team, they never really thought it was going to be anybody other than Julian Sayin.
Well, interestingly, I talked to, I think this year I talked to 126 of the 136 head coaches. Did not get a chance to connect with Ryan Day, so didn't talk to him specifically, but I felt it was going to be Julian Sayin all along. The process, they said it was a battle, and I had question marks on that. You just pretty much saw it was going to be Sayin all along.
I got to be honest here, Phil. I'm a little upset by this.
Yeah, I'm a little miffed at Ryan Day. What's Ryan Day so busy for? Either way, you don't.
Do you want to power rank the coaches you didn't talk to for the show? We do a power rank. Anyway, okay. I want to get to the running back room. And look, last year it was Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. And imagine having both those guys. You saw where they were drafted in the NFL. Now, typically, as we know, Ohio State at every position, and yes, running back, they are able to reload. In this case, have they done that?
I don't think they're as strong as last year's group of running backs. I mean, Judkins and Henderson were two very special running backs. I do like James Peoples and C.J. Donaldson coming in from West Virginia. They've got Bo Jackson, the true freshman, coming in. So there's talent there, but not as experienced. And those two guys last year, Judkins and Henderson, both NFL-ready dudes, I don't think they have that this year. So I'm going to say the running back core is down a little bit off last year's squad.
Who's the team that could vie for a national championship that we're not talking about that's out of the common threats?
I would, one real surprise team this year, and I don't know if they combine challenge for a national championship, but to make the playoffs would be Oklahoma. Keep your eyes on them this year. Oklahoma had a really good defense last year. Offensively, they struggled, but they had 0 returning starters on the O-line. They were down their top 5 receivers due to injury. This year, they're vastly improved on offense, more veteran offensive line, much upgraded receiving core. They bring in a quarterback from Washington State, and they also add in Jade Knott at running back. I think Oklahoma's got a chance to go from 6-7 to making the playoffs this year. But, my top contenders for the national title, you have to put Penn State up there. They have what Ohio State and Michigan had the last 2 years, which is a veteran squad, a homegrown team. In other words, the players came in as freshmen. They're now seniors. They addressed their one area weakness, which was wide receiver, picking up 3 big transfers. But they have a ton of players turned down the NFL, much like Ohio State had last year, much like Michigan had the year before. They only lost 5 players to the draft. I think this is the year Penn State breaks through. And then the other main contender I would put up there, watch Clemson this year. Clemson, they got Kate Klubnik back at QB. He's got my number 2 receiver core in the country, number 2 offensive line in the country. And defensively last year, they allowed 374 yards per game, which is really unusual for Clemson. But there's just too much NFL talent on the defensive side of the ball. Plus, they bring in Tom Allen, the defense coordinator from Penn State. Tom Allen's got their defense playing better. I've got Clemson and Penn State probably as the top 2 teams in the country this year.
You did have a passing reference to Oklahoma, and they get a chance to host Michigan coming up in 9 days. Are you as confident as Michigan fans, my boss, some boosters, too many people in my life, about Bryce Underwood?
I think Bryce Underwood's going to have a good year, but look at what, like Dylan Raiola for Nebraska last year, a true freshman coming in, a lot of talent, very highly rated, and he had his ups and he had his downs. You're going to have that with the Bryce Underwood. And the thing that I would question with Bryce Underwood this year is the fact that he's got 3 really tough road games in the first half of the season. Now, that's when you're still going through the learning curve. He's got to play Oklahoma week 2, Nebraska week 4, and I think Nebraska could be a sneaky potential playoff team coming out of the Big Ten. I believe in the Big Ten this year, the 3 teams that clearly make the playoff are Penn State, Oregon, and Ohio State. But the 4th team is up in the air, and Nebraska is one of those. So that's a tough road test. And they also have to play USC on the road, and USC probably has the best defense that Lincoln Riley has had maybe in his coaching tenure. Danton Lynn's doing a great job as DC. So having those 3 road games early in his career, we may see some ups and downs for Underwood, but I think he's going to be an eventual star in college football.
Doggone it, Phil. I was going to ask you about Nebraska and maybe that Dylan Raiola might have a tough season because defensively, they lose their D coordinator and he goes to Florida State, which is a bad football team after last year. And I'm going, man, you don't usually leave a situation like Nebraska, which is on its way up, for something that's lower unless you know that they're not going to be as good in your department of where it is.
Well, they lose Hutmaker and Robinson, 2 outstanding defensive tackles from last year's squad. But overall, I like the back 7 on defense. Offensively, this is a really good offensive line. It's going to be one of the strengths of the team. They've got an upgraded receiving core. They bring in Dane Key from Kentucky. They bring in Isaiah Hunter from Cal, and I think those two are going to make Dylan Raiola an even better quarterback. And once Dana Holgorsen took over as the offensive coordinator last year, all of a sudden Emmett Johnson emerged. He had 528 yards rushing the last 4 games. So I think they're going to have a potent offense with Holgorsen. Defensively, they're going to be good, but they've got a great schedule this year, Ken. They host Michigan, but when you look at the most of the big boys, they don't have to play Ohio State this year. They don't play Indiana. They don't play Illinois. So they miss a lot of the big boys in the Big Ten, and they get teams like Michigan at home. So I think Nebraska is a dangerous team this year.
All right, obviously the last 2 years, the Big Ten has finally been able to ascend, win some national championships. When you look at the SEC versus the Big Ten, and obviously these conferences are nothing like they used to be, is it more even than it's ever been, or do you think the SEC still has, the big edge because of their totality of teams?
Yeah, I think the two conferences are very close, and there's clearly, they talk about a Power 4. It's really a Power 2. It's the Big Ten and the SEC, and then everyone else. The ACC and the Big 12 pale in comparison. I think though that the SEC might be a little bit deeper of a conference. And let's look at the teams that I've got picked 10th in the conference. In the SEC, it's South Carolina. South Carolina was nearly a playoff team last year. They've got their quarterback back in Lenora Sellers, and they're picked very highly in the SEC, but I've got them 10th. Meanwhile, in the Big Ten, I've got Minnesota, and while P.J. Fleck does a great job, he doesn't quite have the talent to be contending for the Big Ten title this year. So I think when you look at the overall depth, I'd give it to the SEC. At the end of the year, you might see, once again, more Big Ten teams with the 10-11 wins because the Big Ten doesn't have quite the depth at the bottom of the conference. So I think the two conferences are very close. In fact, I gave the Big Ten the edge last year.
Is there a team that's had a lot of transfers that is a big name that you might be worried about?
One team that I am a little concerned about right now would be South Carolina, in the fact that they have a tough schedule, and that's the reason I picked them 10th, and they lose a lot off their defensive front seven. But overall, I think a lot of teams that have a lot of transfers are going to struggle this year, and I think the homegrown teams, the teams that bring in freshmen, they're now seniors and use the portal, but not to an extreme, I think those teams are going to have success. And look at last year, like Clemson in the ACC, they won the title there. Iowa State was playing in the Big 12 title game. Nobody expected big years out of Army and Navy last year, two teams that do not use the portal, and they both had phenomenal years last season. So I think we're going to see more of the homegrown teams. And like when I talked to Coach Ferentz of Iowa, he's leaning to doing more of the, we're going to develop players, bring them in as freshmen. We're not going to be using the portal overall. And I think we're going to see that trend start to happen in college football.
Year 3 of Deion Sanders. He's lost his Travis Hunter. He's lost his sons.
Jimmy Horn Jr.
What do you make of this season? Is Colorado going to fall backwards, or are we going to get a surprise out of Prime and his team?
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough for them to get near last year's 9-win total. Remember, they were contending for the Big 12 title at the end of the season prior to that upset loss to Kansas. New quarterback coming in. Caden Salter struggled at Liberty last year. It wasn't the same, but if he plays like he did in 23, they'll be okay there. They say the offensive line is upgraded this year. They did bring in a ton of transfers, but they are one of those transfer portal teams. Now, Coach Sanders feels that they have a better overall team. They just lost their star players. I think that they slip back. I've got them going towards the bottom of the Big 12 this year, and I've got 7 teams in the Big 12 that I would consider a Big 12 title contender. Colorado's not one of them. I've got Baylor, Utah, Iowa State, Arizona State, Kansas State, Texas Tech, and TCU. I think are your 7 title contenders in the Big 12.
All right, Phil, my final one comes to the MAC because I don't know why I'm the one who has to ask it since Lima does the games. But who do you have coming out of the Mid-American Conference?
I'm really bullish on Toledo this year. Last year Toledo had an inexperienced team, and yet they went into Mississippi State. And here's the thing: when I talked to Mississippi State's coaches, they talked about the fact that Toledo dominated them at the line of scrimmage, and they had to get bigger, stronger, faster on the line because of what Toledo did to them. And now Toledo's a more experienced team. They come back with number 25 on my experience chart after being number 110 last year. I like Tucker Gleason at quarterback. You look at the receiving core with Van Vander Ross and Crosby. The running backs, Chip Trainum, I think, could be a big fish here in the MAC this year, and along with Kenji Christian. I like the running back core. The offensive line's a veteran group. Keep your eyes on Toledo. In fact, Toledo is a playoff contender. If they can go into Kentucky and get that win in the opener, I've got them favored in all the rest of their games this year. They could actually be a contender to make the playoff.
Where can people get the magazine?
It's only available at Barnes & Noble and Books A Million. Those are the only two brick-and-mortar stores, and get them before they're completely sold out. 360 pages, like it 136 media guides rolled into one. And you can also order it online at philsteele.com. So Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, or philsteele.com.
Did Sherrod Moore return your call, or was he suspended at the time?
Okay.
Only 10 coaches. Believe it or not, Ohio State and Michigan were two of the teams that I did not talk to this year. Now, there's a lot of... Sometimes when you're trying to cram in 136 coaches into the month of May and spilled into the next month, the logistics don't work out, but I did not talk to either of those two schools this year.
Phil, thank you so much for the time. Everybody go pick up the magazine. We'll talk to you again soon, my friend. All the best.
Hey, a lot of fun talking football with you guys this morning.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Phil Steele joining us from the Phil Steele College Football Preview, a magazine that I've had now for a decade. Not the same magazine. I get it every year. But
a new one.
That.
A new one. The old pages are sticky. I'm disgusted by the fact that those two coaches did not return the phone calls of Phil Steele. Ridiculous. Ohio State, get your act together. Michigan, I expect it. Ohio State, get your act together.
He might have been dyeing his beard, and Phil Steele's not going to sit there and ask about all the cheating stuff.
I think he just wants to talk some football, talk some pigskin.
Probably couldn't call Kent State's coach. Probably didn't know who that was.
I'm talking to Kent State's coach today.
Whoa!
Will they get off the schneid? St.
You're
Ed's
calling Josh Cribbs?
It was not Josh Cribbs.
Oh, you're calling Jack Lambert?
Again.
You're calling Nick Saban?
Please.
You're calling Antonio Gates?
Why? Keep going.
You're calling Julian Edelman?
I was waiting. There are a couple Steelers.
You're calling Jim Christian?
All right, what? That's a basket. That's not even...
You're calling Andy Baskin?
All right, so I might get a lot of information. Kent State hasn't won.
Bud, you should probably know what you're talking about.
Kent State has not won a Power 5 game since 2022, I believe. And they have a new interim coach this year, St. Ed's grad.
You're calling Arsenio Hall?
Right,
you're calling James Harrison?
Not doing this.
You're calling Joe Walsh?
I guess we're doing this.
You're calling Drew Carey? You're calling Thurman Munson? You're calling Chrissy Hine? You're calling Dolph Ziggler?
Chrissy Hine.
You're calling John Caparulo? You're calling Michael Keaton? You're calling Connie Schultz? You're calling David Sedaris? All right, that's it. That's all I got.
Intellectual and a kind of a comedian.
David Sedaris?
Oh, come on, David Sedaris is funny. Don't be like that.
I've read a lot of his books.
I don't know. I just said it when I Googled it.
Yeah.
So maybe he's there, maybe he's not. I don't know. It's Google. Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong. Coming up in 5 minutes, this is nothing to celebrate. And there ain't no way Arch Manning's performance could ever match the hype. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, take us with you to work on that free Odyssey app. Friends, Ken Carman,
who get it done.
Listen to 92.3 The Fan on the Odyssey, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn app.
That's not the hat that I saw you in on social media.
I have a Iowa State hat on.
It looked like it to me.
And somebody turned it into a different hat because my hat is red. You get my hair cut today. You're getting a mole cut. Carlos Santana no longer being here, and there's nothing to celebrate. You said you saw people celebrating yesterday. You're lying. You didn't see no one celebrating.
I think it was more a bunch of people. Again, this Guardian season has been about a faction of the fan base that has gotten to win some arguments they haven't won in a long time about the state of affairs. And this was one of them. Like,
one of these days,
Carlos Santana was blocking, younger players. And what was the point of that?
One of these days coming up soon, you're going to have your day with some of these fans out there. I'm going to let them yell at you.
Well, they win.
That's going to happen.
They win this year.
That's going to happen.
They finally got it right.
No, I'm going to let them
Guardians finally had a bad year.
No, well, fine. We're going to have it out.
So they win this year.
No, because you told them
they lost the last 12 years.
You told them all that they were idiots. You told them all that they were bad sports fans and bad baseball fans.
They were.
So now you're going to have to sit there and answer for it for the owner that you defend. So you're going to have to answer for it, Anthony Dolan.
I don't think I've ever once defended
You go ahead and fight
Dolan.
it out.
I think I've said I wish he would have sold the team 13 years ago. I don't think I've defended him.
Okay.
I think I've.
We'll
But you know what?
out.
Every time we get into it, I'll just say my argument is about baseball, and baseball has completely turned me off in so many ways. And fortunately, the Guardians have had so many good seasons; they've kept me invested. When I think, had I been a fan in another city of a team's operating in a similar manner, but just not as smartly,
and I'm still watching.
I would have been completely out of baseball.
I'm still watching them. So I still watched last night. But hey, how do I define Carlos Santana's career here? Because I said a great, and you went a great, or no, I said a legend, and then you
legendary
questioned legend.
Career, you said, yeah.
Then I said great, and then I said one of the better Guardians of the last 20 years. And it's like, boy, Ken, you really fell off the ledge down there to put him where it's at. Like, where is he?
Yeah,
where is Carlos?
Because when I think legendary, I think obviously my mind goes right to Albert Bell, Kenny Lofton, Jim Thome, Omar. Those names I rattle off with legendary. For me.
If you were a jersey guy, you'd be buying those jerseys, right?
Yes.
And wearing them in.
Yes.
Are you buying a Carlos Santana jersey after the...
No.
If you got to give away one, you're going to wear that in.
It's
good enough to at least represent yourself in a Cleveland jersey with Carlos Santana, but I'm not going out of my way to find one.
11 seasons, his third go-around, and this is an incredible number. He was just 28 games shy of Omar Vizquel. Carlos Santana, 1,450 games. Throughout his career, that's more than Jim Thome. That's more than Kenny Lofton.
Did Vizquel order the code red?
Right, yeah. I mean, he was getting close to him. So it is incredible to think about how many games. Obviously baseball, it's 162. It goes without saying that you see these guys, you're more involved with them on literally a daily basis than you are with the other sports. But man, that is a lot of your Cleveland sports life. Seeing one dude in the uniform.
He was with us in the World Series, though.
Yeah.
He played in the World Series.
He caught the final out of the ALCS game.
So he's a major figure.
Yeah, it wasn't like he had a bunch of irrelevant seasons. Like Brooks Jacoby. Okay, he's up there. He's on the list.
You leave Brooke
He's
alone.
17th.
You leave Brooke alone.
Yeah. Brooks Jacoby.
First autograph I ever had.
Brooks Jacoby, 1,240 games. He's right behind Kenny Lofton.
ESPN, they had a conversation earlier today on Get Up about Arch Manning and how the hype. This is a strong opinion here by Jordan Rogers via ESPN. Arch Manning, apparently the hype doesn't match the tape.
The hype doesn't match the tape. There are good things, and there are some good things, but the hype or the tape to me doesn't tell you got a first-round draft pick or a top 10 or a number 1 overall draft pick or a Heisman hopeful. I think he's going to go into Ohio State and he's going to struggle because he hasn't played anybody. The last time we saw him against a really good defense was Georgia, and he looked out of place, right? He looked really good against UTSA, Louisiana Monroe, and Mississippi State, the worst defense in the SEC. I think there's still a lot for him to grow and a lot we need to see.
I got that mixed up. I thought I said Louisiana Tech earlier. There's no way the hype can match the tape. He's not been in tight situations, and this is where Ohio State, I think, has a very decent advantage here. Now, Julian Sayin hasn't been in these situations. Julian Sayin is playing at home, though. College football, I do think, does have a home field advantage of some degree, where you have 100,000 people that are very, very angry, that are against you. You're young. I know that he comes from a family of pressure. He comes from a family that has dealt with pressure. He comes from a family that has expectations for him, and so there's a lot of pressure. But you're not 100,000 people screaming in your face pressure. In the opening game to start your season, what to a lot of people say it's supposed to be. I don't think Jordan Rodgers is a kook for saying that whatsoever. I think he's right, because how on earth could the hype match the tape? You're playing against teams that aren't that great. And predominantly, the team that you played that had a good defense, yes, you did struggle against when you were playing against Georgia. That goes without saying. So to go against Ohio State, I don't know how the tape could match the hype. And plus, look at the hype. Look at the hype. Well, number 1 with a bullet, if he comes out, to a lot of people, if he were to come out today and go, you know what, after the season, I'm coming out in the draft. How many people would line up and say he's the number 1 pick going into next year? Everybody would. How on earth could the tape, the play, match the hype with him? It's impossible.
It's impossible.
As Phil just said with us, Phil Steele, he's got to throw for like 66 touchdowns and 2 interceptions this year for him to be able to match the hype.
Well, and this is not like, you talked about this a lot in the podcast yesterday, so people should check that out, Emerging Podcast Scene on the Odyssey app. This is not a freshman that is like a freshman that's just showing up and boom, you were at spring practice and now you're thrust into it like Bryce Underwood is going to be, especially when he goes to Norman in a few weeks. In this situation, this is a guy who's been on campus for 3 years, meticulously, his recruitment, it was not your traditional recruitment of a big 5-star, no-brainer, supposed to be first-round lock of a quarterback. He was very selective. He went off of social media. Him and his family, they went under careful consideration, and they tried to do this the right way. This was tough to even get a hold of him at times. And believe me, they tried. They tried to use Sark's demons against him. I've been hearing the stories like crazy over the last week. I'm trying to think though of a young quarterback going into the shoe. Was it Matt Barkley? Was he a freshman with USC in 2009?
Not sure.
When he orchestrated a come-from-behind victory. It is a tough thing to do. And I would say the same thing if it was us going out there to Memorial Stadium. Like, whatever. It is really tough for a first-time player to have to go into that. I think Phil Steele brought that up. Yeah, it was 2000. I remember that game.
It'd be very difficult.
Terrell Pryor was 11-25.
I will still take Ohio State in that game, and if I'm saying that, that's not being a homer right there. By the way, the poll that we have right now, still 22 hours left to vote. It has climbed somehow. 89.6% say no to being open to Deshaun Watson starting another game for the Browns this season. We're at almost 90%. There's a lot of votes on this, too. This isn't like there's like 4 people who voted and that's it. Like, there's a lot of votes. It's a lot of votes. Big thanks to everybody who joined us today.
What happened to Ohio State's wide receiving core back then? DeVere Posey and Dane Sanzenbacher.
It's a different time.
Were the leading receivers for that Jim Tressel coach team.
Yeah, that's a different time.
Things falling off there towards the end?
I don't know if they were falling off.
I mean, compare that to the wide receivers they're getting now.
You weren't they got Santonio Holmes from Florida. It just wasn't the same animal that it was with Urban Meyer. And now it's a totally different animal with Ryan Day.
But yet Terrell Pryor was a bigger recruit than just about anybody.
Thanks to, he had his own recruiting day, remember that? Mm-hmm. Big thanks to Phil Steele. Big thanks to everybody who joined us around the AFC North. Vinnie Serado, James Rapin, Andrew Filipony. Find those, 923thefan.com. Big thanks to everybody for watching us on YouTube Live. We are YouTube Live from here on out, also on The Fan. We're back tomorrow, 6 to 10 for Big Country. For Jeff, for Mitch, for the Slippery Wizard, Anthony Lima. I'm Ken Carmen. Have a wonderful day, my friends. Hey,
sounds good. Where's your entourage now?
Cool, I got on the last show.
Loser town, loser fans, and you guys are a loser show.
This is Bart Winkler with an Odyssey Sports Minute, sponsored by